But as far as the
Reading them, yeah.
the motion,
It's all set.
great.
Fully prepared.
Hey, Matt.
We'll see.
Good evening, Littleton, and welcome to the Select Board meeting for June 21st, 2021. We are now in open session, and we will go immediately into executive session to discuss some items that we need to do in executive session. And then once we're finished with that, hopefully at 6:30, we'll come back into open session. If for some reason we have to extend into a continued executive session, we'll close the executive session, come into our open session, so not to hold you all up, and then we will enter into the executive session at the end of the open session. So I would entertain a motion for us to go into executive session.
I move that the Select Board vote to enter into executive session pursuant to Mass General Law, Chapter 30A, Section 21A, Clause 2, to discuss strategy with respect to collective bargaining with the town's unions, since an open meeting may have a detrimental effect on the bargaining position of the board, and to convene in an open session thereafter.
Second?
Can I just have you clarify also for interim fire chief and interim finance director?
Yeah,
Yes.
non-union personnel, yeah.
Yeah.
So to amend that motion to include fire union, interim fire chief, and interim finance director.
Thank you.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded. To go into executive session, do a roll call vote. Mr. Knox?
Aye.
Mr. Norris?
Aye.
Mr. Glavy?
Aye.
Chair's aye. All right, so we are now going into executive session, folks. We hope to be back by 6:30 and get back into our open session meeting. Thank you.
Hard bites, folks.
Welcome back, folks, to Select Board meeting for June 21st, 2021. We've got a pretty light agenda this evening. We will start out by doing an organization pledge of allegiance and reading of the mail. We'll move on to a joint meeting with CONSCOM. We'd like to recognize Mr. Pickard for his years of service on, within the community, specifically on CONSCOM. Then we have a discussion about right of first refusal, Chapter 61A land on Whitcomb Ave. At 6:45, we'll do department board updates and requests, and we've got some acceptance of a bunch of gifts. And we'll be having the treasurer collector have us signing some borrowing anticipation notes or band notes that we have gone out to market and sold. The DPW director will do some contract authorization. We'll be authorizing the town administrator to sign some contracts. At 7 o'clock, we'll have public input and members' input. At 7:05, there'll be appointment and assignments for a number of boards and committees. At 7:40, actually, about 7:40, we will be amending the beer and wine or wine and malt license for Donlin Supermarkets as they're changing hands. At 7:45, there will be a public hearing for Anthony's Coal Fire Pizza. They are changing the alcohol manager, and that has to go to a public hearing. At 7:50, the town administrator and assistant town administrator will give us an update on a few things, discussing the vacancy of our police chief, Chief Lazinski, fire chief. Just dropping bombs left and right on him. The next item on the town administrator, assistant town administrator update is an update on the Nagog Orchard lease. We'll have an update on the interim finance director contract, and then we will go over the select board's meeting schedule for meetings to come through July to the end of the year, I believe. And then we will approve the minutes, and there may be a call for us to go back into executive session at that point. So we, not exactly sure when we're going to adjourn, so we might be in and out. But stay tuned. Should be exciting. First, I'd like to ask the clerk if you could lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance to get our meeting started.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. I have to keep myself in the scout salute. Do that.
All right, thank you. Next up on the agenda, we have the the distinct honor and pleasure of recognizing somebody who's given a lot to our community. And we, yeah, I can just keep rambling.
Meal? You want me to do the meal?
So while we're waiting for that, we're going to have the town administrator do the mail.
Thanks. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So 2 weeks ago, we had a ratings call with Standard & Poor. And the reason why you do a ratings call when you're going out for what you guys are going to sign later, it's those bands, is Standard & Poor's asked us a number of questions to determine the financial health of the town. You're happy to report that Standard & Poor reaffirmed our AAA rating. They gave us a bunch of great comments, which I'd like to share because our team does a lot of work all year long. It mentions very strong economy, very strong management with strong financial policies and practices in the financial management assessment methodology, strong budgetary performance with operating surpluses in the general fund and the total government fund level in fiscal '20, very strong budgetary flexibility with an alternate available fund balance in fiscal year FY '20 of 24% of the operating expenditures, very strong liquidity with total government available cash at 92.8% of total government fund expenditures, an adequate debt and contingent liability profile with debt services carrying charges at 5.8% of expenditures, and net direct debt that is 69.6% of total government fund revenue, as well as a low overall net debt at less than 3% of market value, and strong institutional framework scores. So I just want to commend our staff really for doing a great job at reaffirming that. That really allows us to go out and borrow and get, which Sean will talk about later, a great interest rate because of that AAA bond rating.
Which ultimately saves the residents and taxpayers a lot of money.
That's correct.
Great.
Can I just add a word too? Yeah, kudos to Anthony and to the various folks, Cheryl and Sean and others in the team. But specifically, I can't not note, because whenever we do a project, and I make the case that the debt is something that we can certainly carry under the levy limit in certain cases. We've done it successfully a number of times. It dates back to, I think, with the most recent one were both the scenarios for the upcoming senior center or community center, or however it turns out to be named, and the library project. I mean, Anthony, in his first go-around here, worked with me on this, and it's nice to see affirmed. It's one thing for us to say it, but to see the Standard & Poor call out that our debt is, overall, our debt is low at 2% of market value, and total government debt service is 5.8% of total government fund expenditures. We're in a great position to do those things without jeopardizing our finances. And it's not by accident. That's the residual of good practice. So.
Right. You want to stay below that 10%. Closer you get to that, it could affect it. If you go over it, it's certainly going to affect the bond rating.
But we're not near there.
No. Even with the senior center, which we determined was still, I think it was 8 point something.
Yeah, they even called that out. I mean, they acknowledged that we had put $3 million aside in their letter, towards an expected $10 million expenditure.
And that letter is in our packet for anybody that wants to do that was the Reader's Digest version.
Right.
But if anybody that wants to dig into it, by all means, it's available for all to see. All right. Any other mail?
That's it.
All right,
That's
thank
it,
you very
Mr.
much for
Chairman.
that.
Thank you.
Any other comments, board members?
FinCom too.
Pardon me?
Let's not forget about FinCom.
Absolutely, yeah, there's a lot of people that
Yeah.
including the residents and the folks that show up at town meeting and help us make those decisions.
Steve
Absolutely.
Venuti, our recently retired treasurer, too, great role and all that.
All right. To continue down the recognition vein, I'd like to recognize somebody who's given a number of years service to our community, and the institutional knowledge that this person has definitely served our community quite well. The folks on the Conservation Commission can certainly speak better to this, but there are a couple things that we would like to present to Mr. Jim Pickard as he has decided to retire from Conservation Commission. And before we go into our presentation, we do have something from the House of Representatives that I'd like to read and present to you. And I'd like to actually, if Conscom has anything to say, by all means, you can come to the mic and offer whatever kudos or congratulations or thank yous that you all would like to share. But I'd like to read this on behalf of Jim Arciero, our state representative. The Commonwealth of Massachusetts House of Representatives, be it hereby known to all that the Massachusetts House of Representatives offers its sincerest congratulations to James H. Pickard in recognition of your 43 years of dedicated service to the citizens in town of Littleton as a member of the Littleton Conservation and Agricultural Commissions. The entire membership extends its very best wishes and expresses the hope for future good fortune and continued success in all endeavors. Given this 21st day of June 2021, at the State House, Boston, Mass., signed by Ronald Mariano, the Speaker of the House, and offered by James Arciero, our state representative. So, Jim, thank you very much for. So I don't know if anybody from Conscom, Amy, if you'd like to say a couple words, just ask that you come to the mic, or Julie's got something prepared.
Chuck, Senator Eldridge is sending in something to it, just to.
Thank you.
Hey, everyone. Hello. Can I just see you guys?
Yes.
Should be.
So I'm Julie Rupp. I'm a member of the Conservation Commission. Several of us compiled some notes into what I'm about to read to you. As we just heard, Jim has served on the Conservation Commission for approximately 43 years. He's a lifelong Littleton resident, graduated from the Littleton High School in 1963. He was active in 4-H and livestock showing and took over Idle Vale, the family farm, from his parents in 1980. Jim has served the community in many ways. We are grateful for his leadership and advocacy and for many important accomplishments. A short list, just a highlight. He was instrumental in the preservation of the Nagog Hill Orchard, establishing the Agricultural Commission, preservation of the Frost Whitcomb property, establishing the Oak Hill Cell Tower for revenue generation, creation of the Oak Hill parking lot on Harvard Road, and bringing efficiency to meetings. Farmers are the original conservationists. Jim has led by example by keeping his own property as open space. He has been a voice of reason for working with the land to implement environmental solutions rather than re-engineering it. He has fostered and encouraged a working relationship between the Conservation Trust and Conservation Commission and various Littleton town boards, including the Select Board, to preserve Littleton's land. As a farmer and lifelong Littletonian, Jim is well respected by many of the local developers and is able to understand their point of view. This has made him an effective advocate for conservation and has streamlined hearings throughout the years. During meetings, Jim can be counted on to keep us on track. We've got to move along, and okay, folks, what's your pleasure will continue to echo in our heads after his departure. Jim can tell you the history of pretty much any property on our agenda, often because he once grew corn or hay there. His knowledge and wisdom has been absolutely invaluable to the Commission and to the town of Littleton. Jim has been a steadfast voice for conservation and for reason for 4 decades and will very much be missed. We plan to name a trail at Oak Hill in Jim's honor. We'll miss you very much. And thank you.
Thank you, Julie, and thank you to the whole commission for putting those thoughts together. We, as a town, would like to present you with a plaque, Jim, and the plaque reads, "Presented to James H. Pickard with sincere appreciation for his dedicated community service to the Conservation Commission and the Agricultural Commission for over 43 years, Town of Littleton, June 2021. So if you could come forward, Jim, I'd like to present this to you. Step up, yeah. Step up. Yeah, I'll reach over and give you that, but we'll just come up there and give you some handshakes. Say thank you very much for everything, Jim.
You look there?
Yeah, let's go up there. Yes. This is the, and Senator Eldridge has a proclamation that he's sending along as well, just didn't get it most of the time, so. Come in and. Thanks, Joe.
There we go, one more.
Great. Thank you very much.
Maybe he'd want to speak.
Jim, would you like to go to the microphone and say anything?
It's been an enjoyable time working and watching the town grow, and watching the committee get formed and changed over the years, and working with the various people. I really look forward to it. And thank you all.
Thank you. Thanks. All right, how do we follow that? All right, I guess we do have to move on. Next conversation we have, speaking of conservation, is relative to Chapter 61A land at 85 Whitcomb Ave. We've got a right of first refusal, so I'm not sure who's going to take the lead on this.
I'll tee it up.
you.
So we received notification that, of the town having the option of the right of first refusal for 85 Whitcomb Ave. The board had a meeting probably about a month ago. It was the will of the board to pass it on to the various committees and ask if anybody had input. We heard from one, the Conservation Commission, who are here tonight to discuss their desire to have the board exercise the right of first refusal.
Okay. Does anybody from Conscom want to speak to it? You guys met and had this conversation, and it's the will of Conscom to have us exercise the right, and like to kind of hear the thought process, or?
Do you want me to up here?
I think it's easier for the
Okay.
folks at home to hear that, Julie, so yeah, if you could, it'd be
Yeah,
great, thank
sure.
you.
Hi, Julie Rupp, Conservation Commission. So Conservation met to discuss the parcel in question. We looked at the location, which is in the vicinity of the Whitcomb Ave wells. It's within 1,000 feet and within the Zone 2 aquifer of the Whitcomb Ave wells. So this would, the Zone 2 aquifer, if you're not familiar, would be the source area for pumping during a drought. In addition, I don't know if folks are aware, but those wells are only 25 feet deep, so they're pretty shallow. And so we discussed water quality, watershed preservation, as well as habitat and trees. If you look at the parcels in the vicinity, they're all developed. It's essentially all residential development, and so this is one final piece that is not developed in this area. One of the concerns that we had talked to, or that I had, is that, definitions change. So we have the 100-year storm event, and what we understood as a 100-year storm event 20 years ago is very different from what we understand it to be today. Our stormwater regulations are changing, our water quality regulations are changing. So from a habitat and watershed protection standpoint, we felt that it was worth preserving this area within our Zone 2 for both of those reasons, just looking forward as Littleton grows, and it will just help us preserve our water quality for the future.
Thanks, Julie.
I don't know if anyone else has comments?
Any other comments from anybody from Conscom? Jim?
Yeah. I believe there might be some historical value to this piece of property. Maybe Joe can members too. I thought there was a cranberry bog up and back there, and there was a dam and stuff that was associated with that Sanderson property. I remember when we did the site work, we came across that.
I definitely know with the small pond in the one-time bog, the bog was there before I used to go ice skating on it, and
Yeah.
the trench ran all the way down. I think it ran through that property.
And it came, the outlet came across behind those houses
Yeah.
that were across from the highway department.
Exactly.
So there may be some sort of, some historical value to it all.
Do you have the historical value part?
No, in fact, I'll just take this opportunity to state that I don't, based on prior legal counsel, I don't have any real conflict, but because I do have a pending matter before the Conservation Commission, just occurs to me, I'm going to refrain from participating in this discussion.
Appreciate that.
if I might, Jim, the bog area would still be there, but I don't think the trench ran through that property there. The trench actually ran through the part that's still vacant there.
Could be.
And right about where that, if you go, take that marker further up here in that direction, to the left, that's where the dam was, further back.
But that connects to what, quite a bit of conservation restricted land, doesn't it? So
Yeah, open space.
possibly you could have a small parking lot that would help alleviate some of the parking up on Oak Hill to be able to walk through, I believe, over the Oak Hill.
Connectivity from Whitcomb Ave across the
Yeah.
Bennett Orchard open space over
Yeah.
to that, there was a parking area that was left. These don't connect though, do they? I
Huh?
don't think these connect though. I don't think the open space on the back.
Across the road, but they connect directly across the road,
Right.
across Oak Hill. You can see right at the top where Oak Hill bends.
Oh, yeah.
Right there.
yeah.
So that's where the parking spaces are now?
Across from that.
No, but we,
Oh, those are down just off of the view, down to the left.
this, to the left, okay, yeah, with the opening where you don't see the lot line coming across the backside, right,
Yeah.
right, okay. Well, actually, there is some connectivity there then, because it's all open space all the way out to Oak Hill Road, okay, all right. Was there any discussion or conversation from Conscom relative to the value of the land, and did you guys get into that discussion at all, or?
I suspect there may be the AT&T easement across that, but I'm not 100% sure. I saw this somewhere along there's a sign across the street that showed up that there was an AT&T easement. And I know there was a bound out in there too, someplace we came across.
It's the same easement that runs all the way up by your property.
Huh?
It's the same easement that goes right through all the way by your property too.
Yeah.
I have a question here, on the first page, it says a bona fide offer for $650,000, but yet in here it says $200,000.
I saw that as well.
Right, so that was the impetus of my question.
250.
Okay.
So is 650?
The control sheet is an error?
Okay.
Thank you.
I thought that was a little high. I'm curious if anyone knows what protections are already in place. So assuming it changes hands and a private entity buys it, are there wetland protections that would limit development or other activities on that land that are already in existence?
Amy Green, the conservation agent, it's a fairly dry piece of property. If there are any wetlands, they're off in the back of it, but they don't really throw much of a regulatory review.
There's no watershed protection that would impact development on that parcel?
No.
Okay.
What was the reasoning behind, Amy, I'm going to ask you if you will, if you know the answer. What was the reasoning behind that not being developed, just because it was in 61 and in order for them to come out, they'd have to go, just answer my question.
Yeah, exactly.
It was at 61, yeah.
I think it's just been sitting there and kind
Right.
of time for them, I assume.
So they can, if we weren't to exercise our right, then they could
Yep.
pay the back taxes
Pay the
or
back
wait the
taxes.
time frame and put that lot on the market, and it could end up being
But
basically
it seems
incorporated into
odd
it.
to have that smaller lot
I agree.
was on 61A, not for some reason or other.
The rest of it wasn't. Or did they pay to get the rest of the land out of 61A?
I
Before the
think
development?
that's the case, because there's only 1 acre, and you have to have, what, 5 acres for 61
Yeah,
acres?
but they would, at one point, it would have been contiguous with a piece across the street too, on Sanderson Road.
Yeah, heading back towards Taylor Street.
And that one lot has houses on either side of it.
It does.
So 20 and 21 are residential?
I believe so.
Okay.
But is there a home on 21?
Yes, that's Bob Zimmerman.
Yeah,
Bob Zimmerman,
yeah,
so-
yeah.
There's a house there, too.
All right.
All right. Appreciate the input. Any other questions or comments from anybody on the board?
So 250,000 for 1 acre?
That's what we're looking at.
Okay. Do we know how much money we have in our housing, in the CPC for open space?
I don't have the answer to that.
We'll find that out.
I forget what the numbers are, I looked them up and forgot to write them down. There's, I'm gonna guess at least 100,000 in the open space piece, and there's maybe 400,000 in undesignated, so that could go, you know, anywhere. It was all certainly drawn down after the 119 Tattawan.
Right, right. And I thought there was recent, for the undesignated, I thought there was another group that was looking to seek funding for something utilizing the undesignated bucket, but I could be wrong.
There was some comments about the Robinson Road property. It gets bandied about quite a bit.
Right.
Kyle Max, the Conservation Commission. You mentioned that conservation was the only one that raised an issue or interest in the property. Did anybody come up and say, we don't want this? We've heard that the town water and electric said, nope, we don't want it at all. Like, is there any reason that nobody else is interested in this land?
We didn't, the only board of commission that we floated out there to that gave us any reply whatsoever was Conscom.
I had a very brief conversation with Corey Godfrey over at Littleton Water, and besides the fact that it is kind of a small property, they're tight on money right now, so it's that as much as anything.
A lot of projects going on.
Yeah.
I think, Julie Rupp, Conservation, if I had just one quick comment. I know it's, it's a small property, and 250, for 1 acre, might be, something in the top of your minds at the moment. I think from a holistic standpoint, moving forward, land that's within our zone 2s should be priority for preservation. And the big guys come up, it's few and far between, and there's usually a lot of interest and therefore grant money that typically tends to be available, and voters get behind it. And so I would, in my opinion, the second tier for priority, other than the big guys, are these properties that are within our zone 2 and then also within our lake neighborhoods, because 4 of our 5 lakes in town are impaired. We're on the Clean Water Act list as impaired water bodies. And this is how we keep our water quality in our town good. This is how we do it. And so I would say, even if for some reason this is impossible, I think from a holistic standpoint, these are the types of properties we need to start looking at conserving.
If I may, Mr. Chair. So that was actually going to be my next question. Do we have a list of priority parcels somewhere? Have we created that? Because there's a lot of talk about, preserving open space, but it seems to me that oftentimes we just kind of react instead of being proactive. So I think it's important that we do put together some sort of structured list, based on what you just mentioned, Julie. I think it's important to have that resource for us, for the board, for planning purposes, as far as utilizing CPC funding going forward, and create those priorities and agree on that those are our priorities. So I didn't know if Conscom had actually put together something like that, or you were just, just speaking out loud, so to speak, and just saying.
Yes and no, I think.
It's something that works.
Yeah, the LCT is working on that exact thing, because we are often, I completely agree with you,
Right.
we are often very reactive.
Right.
I do believe the water department has some, maybe not identified properties, but they've got concentric circles around the
Certain areas, yeah, so maybe.
areas of interest or that we want to protect. I got you, Tony, one second. That they're looking at making sure that they can protect as much as they can.
Right, so we need to get these
Yeah.
groups talking to each
Right.
other
Yeah,
and coming up
facilitate
with
that
that
kind of meeting.
information, because I think it's important.
When do we have to make a choice on this? I'm sorry, Mr. Chairman.
No,
Do we have to vote on this tonight?
you don't have to.
The only thing I was thinking of is directly asking the water department
Yeah.
what the value is of this property for their wells, to get their feedback.
The impact and that kind of thing.
Yeah. The other thing is, there's still, on this sheet, it's 200,000. I want to get that straightened out too, on the off the sheet.
It's in the packet, in the,
Yeah, it says 200 in the packet.
oh, it's 200, okay.
Yeah.
So it isn't 250, it's 200?
Yeah,
That's in the PNS, the offer, it does say
Okay.
200. And Mr. Chair, also from the planning board, in the packet, they provided an email saying that the planning board has no concerns with Sanderson family selling the lot. However, it is my understanding that town council is working on easements for the Bennett Orchard subdivision street acceptance process. Some easements may be needed to be recorded prior to the sale of lot. I think there was a question whether there was a need for a drainage easement that went through that to connect out to Sanderson. I mean, sorry, Whitcomb Ave.
So I have a few thoughts. One is, given the recent hullabaloo about water supply, I don't think we should overlook a chance to protect. We don't have, we're down one well, and if another one goes, it's going to be even more. It's going to strain our system even worse. I think Julie's comment about this is the sort of parcel that doesn't get grant money is a good one. And so can we postpone this until we hear from the water department, and also perhaps until we know what we have in the CPC and undesignated funds? Because I am curious, if it's 200, I mean 650 is completely out of reach, but if it's 200 grand and we have a 500 plus in the bucket, maybe that's more reasonable. And the other thing was, I proposed a sort of review that you just mentioned a month or two ago. And so I'll catch up with Conscom and LCT on, see if I can work with them to get that started. I have a document somewhere that lists all the details of that. But I'm generally in favor of protecting it if we can afford it, without putting too big a dent in our piggy bank.
Okay, I appreciate that input. Do either of you know when the clock starts? Because I know that there is a time certain for when the clock starts for,
Do you have the letter in front of you, what the date is?
I'm trying to
We have
find it. I'm
100.
looking at the letter, I'm trying to, I
I
can't.
do have it.
Is it 120 days?
It is
120 days, but
120 days from when it's received.
All right, so this isn't stamped as being received, so I don't know when we received it. It's dated April 20th. That's when it was created. Whether or not we received it on that date, so let's assume we did receive it on April 20th. So we're looking at May, June, July, August 20th.
Yep.
Thereabouts, right? So we would have to act relatively quickly, to your point, whether or not we have to act on this tonight, but not necessarily tonight. And I think the more information we can gather to try to make sure that we make a well-educated decision is in the benefit of everybody. Any other comments from the board before, I know Mr. McIver has something he'd like to say?
Yeah, I just think we need more information before we can make a decision.
Yeah, I don't disagree with you.
Yeah.
Good?
Yeah. Mr. Chair, we do have the attorney representing the property.
On Zoom?
Yes.
Okay. Mr. McIver, I'll let you speak, and then we'll bring the attorney in. Maybe you guys can get that ready to pull him in while Mr. McIver speaks.
Bill McIver, 43 Foster Street, Wilton Conservation Trust. We've gone to a lot of conferences, talked to a lot of people who've done prioritization, and it sounds simpler than it is. We know the characteristics that are important, but what it turns out to be the most important factor is someone making their property available. And that's really either the showstopper or isn't. And through 61A, first right of refusal, this is being made available. It's adjacent to other conservation land. I haven't looked at it closely, but yeah, I hear what the Conservation Commission is saying. So I would think this would be a high priority because it's close to abutting land, it's close to the wells. On other matters, Conservation Trust has talked to the water department about having CRs over some of their property, and yeah, they're discussions, but it's a good area, I think, to protect something. That's it.
Okay. Thank you. One of the things I'd ask for the town administrator's office, and if the board agrees with me, is I'm sure Kathy Miller or her team can let us know what property is in 61A, because it's directly related to how much they pay in taxes. So if we could get an inventory of what is actually in 61A, so as far as us being proactive versus reactive, if we know what's in 61A, to Mr. McIver's point, we may or may not be able to have those conversations with some of the property owners in advance of, the clock's ticking. We have 120 days to react. All right, so if we want to pull in Mr. Alphen through Zoom, that would be Mr. Attorney Alphen is representing the Sandersons, I believe, property owners.
And he should be coming in. I don't know if we lost him. I don't see him anymore.
Paul, you out there?
No, he's.
Maybe we hit all the points that he wanted us to hit. Very thorough. Okay,
Oh, here he's coming.
here he comes. All right. It's in a bad spot. Going through a tunnel.
All right, now I'm back. Paul Alphen, I represent the applicant. I'm going to leave the video off because I'm getting a message that I've got a bad internet connection. But you were talking about whether the land was in 61A. All of this land was in 61A. The subdivision ran from Whitcomb Road to Oak Hill Road. And in prior years, the Board of Selectmen voted not to purchase any of that land, including the subdivision loop road you see there in the plan and the individual lots that were sold on Oak Hill Road. This lot and 3 other lots were not sold at that time just because the Sandersons didn't want to sell them all at the same time and provide some opportunity like the one we're talking about this evening. Now, if you go a bit to the north, take the arrow to the north on Sanderson Road, you'll see 3 lots and then parcel 30 that you're on. Those properties are also in 61A, and 30 and the 3 lots below it, 30-13, 30-12, 30-11. Those were also in 61A. Those are also approved as part of the subdivision, but they haven't been put on the market yet. But when the Sandersons choose to, if they choose to, you'd have that opportunity to purchase those at that time. The lot in question, as you've discussed, is just a 1-acre house lot in between some other house lots. There is an AT&T easement running through it, but there is a family, a local family who's interested in purchasing it and making their home there.
Okay, thank you.
So 30, 31, 30-13, 30-12, and 30-11 are all currently in 61A as well?
I don't
Yeah, I don't know about 30-1, but 30.
That's the home.
30-13,
Okay, so those 3, so potentially they might want to release those as well in the future.
So Attorney Alphen, you're not certain whether or not the Sandersons are contemplating those 4 lots coming out of 61A and offering those lots for sale?
Well, I just want to make it clear, there's only 3 lots there. Parcel 30 is an open space parcel.
Okay.
So it's the 3 house lots, and they haven't discussed with me of late whether they're interested in putting those on the market. They have not mentioned it to me.
Okay.
Give you $210 for all 4,
Actually,
right now.
can I ask a question of the Conservation Trust? Would there be any possibility of working with the town if we decide to purchase this and pitching in money from LCT in response to the conservation restriction? Or something like that?
I'll share a little bit more. I've been in communication with Dave Sanderson, and certainly when the issue was with the water department developing their field, I tried to get the water department to look at some of the adjacent lands on the right side of our Sanderson Road. The Sandersons would be interested in selling the development rights, which means a lot cheaper of some of those other parcels. I've talked a little bit to Sudbury Valley trustees, and maybe we should work together. And yeah, the lot you're looking at now, it's ownership and fee, it's a development right, so it's more expensive. If you don't buy it, there'll be a house there. It's 1 acre. So there's some advantage to protecting that, but at the same time, we should look at the 15 acres across the road for the development rights. and we'd be glad working with the town. And Sudbury Valley trustees sounds interested too, so it may be a bigger deal. But you have a clock working on the 61A first right of refusal, that's what's being offered. So it's sort of beat the clock type stuff.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Attorney Alphen, if you're still there, do you have any other questions of the board or any other clarifications?
Yeah, because honesty is the best policy, the 120-day clock got extended by the special legislation associated with the state of emergency. I don't even know if it's sunsetted yet, or they decided to do that, because the period of time was the end of the state of emergency, which I guess occurred, what, a week ago?
Right.
And plus 90 days, plus 120 days. Now, perhaps I shouldn't have told you that.
I was wondering why I still.
You know, I don't want, I can't be quiet if there's a misinterpretation of the law.
We appreciate that.
Thank you.
Okay. So a little bit less of a sense of urgency, but we would like to try to address this, get the information we need to get, ask the water department, get input from whatever boards that didn't respond that we think are, may have some interest.
And get
or
a final
some
determination
value.
on the
Right.
funds we have available.
Correct, right. All right, so we'll table this, and if we have any questions, Attorney Alphen will reach out.
Okay,
Thank you.
thank you.
All right, thank you very much for all the input.
Thanks.
Thank you.
What was the most difficult time in my whole board experience?
Not opening your mouth? Sitting on your hands? I didn't specifically call on you.
No,
That was
no,
good.
I know that, but,
Okay, next up on our agenda, we've got department heads, department and board updates and requests. And first up is Elder and Human Services, acceptance of donations. Do we have?
Mr. Chair, I'm going to handle that for
Thank you.
EHS. Within the board's packet is a letter prepared by Director of EHS, Ashley Shaheen, outlining 3 gifts that were provided, 605 from Ed Sweeney's, 500 from the Friends of the Neshoba Valley to support technology for hybrid senior programming, and $260 from the Friends of the COA to subsidize a mindful mediation class.
Okay, great, thank you. And, I mean, it seems like every other meeting we're thanking Ed Sweeney's.
Seems like every meeting we're thanking Ed Sweeney's.
But there's, certainly thank you to Ed and Howard, to the Friends of Neshoba Valley for their the support of hybrid programming, and certainly from the Friends of the COA, who are very good friends of the COA, for their donations. And so I'll entertain a motion to accept the gifts.
I move that the Select Board vote in accordance with its policy on solicitation and acceptance of monetary gifts for public purpose to approve donations to Elder and Human Services from $605 from Ed Sweeney's for families in need, $500 from Friends of the Neshoba Valley to support technology for hybrid senior programming, and $260 from Friends of COA for subsidizing mindful meditation class.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, it's unanimous. Thank you very much once again to all those who continue to help support the many causes that we have in town. All right, so 7B is acceptance of a donation to Veteran Services. You doing that one as well, Joe, or is Mr. Borowski going to?
No, Mr. Borowski is on with us.
Welcome, John.
that was my call.
You might be muted, John.
Yeah, I was having trouble on mute. Good evening.
Good evening.
It's all you, John.
Well, we had a donation from the American Legion Post 249, I guess for the World War I memorial restoration. $1,000 check from them.
That's great. Fantastic. That's great, John. And if anybody wants to donate to the World War I Memorial, that is at the corner of Shattuck Street and King Street?
That is correct.
Restoration
Yes,
that,
yeah.
Hathaway Corner.
Hathaway Corner, apparently. But Ms. Napoli's been working pretty hard in conjunction with you and with a number of folks to try to get that done. So very much appreciate that donation. And if there's no questions or input, we'll entertain a motion.
Okay, I move that,
Sorry.
I move that the Select Board vote in accordance with its policy on solicitation and acceptance of monetary and non-monetary gifts for public purpose to approve donation of $1,000 to the town of Littleton for the World War I monument restoration from the American Legion Littleton Post 249.
Just moved and seconded. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
It's unanimous. Great, thank you very much to the Legion, supporting that. And item 4C is acceptance of donations for our Parks, Recreation, and Community Education Department. Is Ms. Day or Mr.?
She's on.
Okay. Malsky. Alicia, if you're out there, the floor is yours.
You muted, Alicia.
Now if I can get my camera, there we go. Hello, everyone. How's it going?
Doing well.
Hello.
All right. Do you guys mind if I share a PowerPoint? There's just some photos and things I would like you to see as far as the updates go.
Sure.
All right, there we go. So I just wanted to give an update and also go through these donations that came through. We have two very kind donations. The first one is for an arbor swing. The Park Commission did vote to accept this donation as a memorial swing for Mackenzie Rialt. It's kind of a gift, an in-kind gift, which is something we don't get very often, but that is the first donation that has come up.
Excellent. Where's that going to be placed, Alicia?
I think we're trying to figure that out right now. We've done a lot of updates at Long Lake Beach, which I will show you some of those things moving forward. But I believe we are looking at possibly one of the grass sections that would be closer to like the boat ramp than anywhere else. But we also have the tree grove. That's a location that we could potentially put it as well.
Okay, great.
And the second one that we have is, we had a donation, let me go back to it, donation of a scoreboard. So this came to the Park Commission on the June 8th Park Commission meeting. They did approve it. The one thing that did come up, which we didn't know about at the time where we did a approval of it, is that it's actually being paid for by Local 104. And a sign for the union would be attached to the scoreboard. So again, both of those are up for approval tonight, if it pleases you.
Okay. Well, as far as the signage, that would be something that would be to the Park and Rec Commissioners, I believe, right? Whether or not the signage can be placed on it?
Alicia, Corpus under Park and Rec, or Park Commissioners?
Not really. It's one of those strange areas
Okay.
that it's
Yeah.
actually, the land itself is owned by Light and Water. And the Light and Water Commission did approve it as well. I did not add that in
Okay.
there.
Beg forgiveness then. All right, thanks, Alicia. Did you want to, those are the two donations?
Those are the two donations tonight, and then if you, I can keep going if you want me to finish the update, or if you wanted to discuss the two donations, it's up to you.
Is it a quick update? Because it wasn't necessarily part of the, oh, it actually it is, and department update. Yeah, keep going, sorry.
Yeah. All right, I gotcha. Okay. So just wanted to kind of run down some of the things that have happened, because a lot's happened in the last couple of months. The park commissioners did vote to dissolve all of the COVID-19 policies that they had put in place for the last 14 months in preparation for the Commonwealth coming out of the state emergency. So they did that at the last meeting, so we are kind of back to normal. Another thing that the Park Commission, we've been wanting to do for quite a while, is to actually give 300 King Street a name. Saul Marini, who is one of our park commissioners, and I will be working with the Historical Society, and they've actually done a lot of really fascinating research to find a historically pertinent name for that park. So once we actually get all the research completed, we'd like to actually do a presentation of some of the options that we have, get some public input, and hopefully we can assign a name to that park that is just an address. So that's one of the things that we've been working on. Special events, just a quick rundown. We are going to return to Third Thursdays. We really want to get some of the local businesses some advertisement and get them, interacting with the public again. So we are looking at having the July 15th and the August 19th Third Thursday at Fate Park. It all depends on some planning and things that we have to do, but that's our goal we'd like to get to. We also would like to bring back Oktoberfest this year. Our tentative date is October 2nd. That date may change. And the park commissioners did approve the use of alcohol at Fate Park, which allows us, when we actually find a vendor, to come to you through that process to have them apply for a one-day liquor license. So know that may be coming, will be coming up hopefully in the future in the next few months. And then the last piece is we are trying to run Touch a Truck in September. We typically do it in May. But again, we want to try to get those special events back out. And a lot of the ones that are specifically, the bigger outdoor ones, we would like to get some of those moving forward, because it's just been so long. And then the last, I just have a whole bunch of pictures for you. So if you have not been down to Long Lake Beach, I don't know why it's frozen. There we go. I wanted you to see some of the amazing things that we've done down there. So Tim Mahowski has been absolutely breaking his back on all of these things. We'll bring that back. We did, through the Shade Tree Committee, get a donated maple, which is amazing because it's a 3.5-inch diameter. As you can see, the building that we had installed last summer, we've actually taken out a lot of the pea stone and made it a concrete entry point so that it has accessibility. This picture right here on the right-hand side, upper side, is the new snack shack, the interior. If anybody had been in the old snack shack, this is a much, much nicer upgrade. Here you can kind of see the garage door and access to the aquatic director's office. Down at the bottom, myself and Tim, we did all this landscaping ourselves with the help of all the lifeguards as well. So, that's been a huge project to, bring that beautification out. And we've also refreshed the paint and the signage for the handicap locations. And just a few last, these on the right-hand side are the new signage that we have down there. So the permit, the cameras, and the speed limits. Tim actually built this wall, so they have a lifeguard break room so they can actually eat. So this is the inside of that. More signage that's down there. And we also got outside showers installed, so and a boat ramp. So that's kind of a lot of updates, trying to be as quick as I possibly can. Any questions, comments?
Any questions on the board?
I gotta say, I'm impressed with the pictures. I haven't been down to the beach in a while, and it looks fantastic. Just really nice. In the future, I think if you need help moving gravel or landscaping around, I know that the Boy Scout troops in town are always looking for service projects to get their service hours in. You should reach out to them. Nothing like 10 or 12, 13-year-olds running around to really get a project moving.
Absolutely. Saves my back.
You just have to focus them.
Alicia, DPW did some of that work for you, right down there?
They did help out quite a bit too.
So big thank you to them.
They, anytime we needed the heavy equipment to come in, they definitely helped out with that. We did have someone come in, an outside contractor that did the cement and some of the other work, but a lot of the work that we did last summer, actually grading and prepping the site to put that new snack shack on, was all highway. They did an amazing job helping us then.
It's nice to see the summer programs coming back.
Yeah.
I had a chance, I was out delivering the flowers for the seniors down that part of town, and I was struck by how much improvement has been made down there. And your folks, you're true to your word. Everybody was busy down there. Tim was so busy, I don't think he saw me either time I was down there, but he was working.
Yeah.
I don't know why there wasn't a
Alicia, thank you very much. Great update. I very much do appreciate those pictures, and it lets everybody, that doesn't get down there, it gives them an opportunity to see what's going on and some of those investments that are being made to keep that asset at the highest and best for everybody. On the Touch a Chuck, what is it?
Touch a Tuck.
A truck.
Truck, okay. I was going to volunteer, but there it is.
Hey, yo.
All right. Thanks, Alicia.
All right.
Are you ready for a motion for the acceptance?
Yes, thank you.
I move that the Select Board vote in accordance with its policy on solicitation and acceptance of monetary and non-monetary gifts for public purpose to approve the following donations to park, recreation, and community education. Wireless scoreboard valued at approximately $2,500 from IOT Associates to be installed at Corper Field, and an arbor swing valued at $2,000 from the Bro family? Brio family? Thank you. To be installed at Long Beach and serve as a memorial as Mackenzie's Swing.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
It's unanimous. Great. Thanks very much, Alicia.
Thank you. I appreciate your time.
And thank you to those that made the donations. Put them to good use. I think, Sean, if you don't mind us holding off on you just for a minute, 'cause we have to open a public hearing at 7:30. So you want to just jump to the DPW director perhaps and address that? Because that's just an approval, right? Just
Yep,
giving you
it is.
authority to sign a contract? I know Sean can kind of ramble on a little bit.
I'll try to keep it short.
He wants to get out of here too,
I think if we could do,
Thanks, Chris.
he's 6'6", he can't be short. All right, so 4E is for, basically just gives us the authority, we're giving you the authority to sign the contract so that Chris can take care of Russell Street?
Correct.
If I'm
Chris.
Correct?
Right. Chris, you want to go through it?
Yeah. So this is actually, we already kind of started this process back in, I think it was April. We did the first 3 tasks, which were a total of $34,010. We had Anthony sign that. That was to get the project started so we could do base survey and submit the complete streets application. This is to continue to get us through 25% design. So it's for another, the total contract would be $87,580. This is for basically the next $53,570 worth. This is the remainder of our roadway repair budget for 2020, I guess it'd be FY 2021. So we're just trying to use it all out and code stuff, but encumber the funds so that way we can best utilize, our remaining money. So So it's fairly straightforward, so just need the approval, please.
Don't make me regret this, Chris. Are you done?
I'm done.
Okay, good.
Well, sorry.
No, it's all good. Thank you very much.
Give a guy a new title and all of a sudden,
It's only
Swinging his big stick.
7:26. You got 4 minutes.
Thank you, Chris. Anthony, you have anything to add to that?
No, we're ready for a
Board,
motion.
have any questions?
No.
Ready for a motion?
Yes.
I move that the Select Board vote to authorize the Town Administrator to sign the agreement with Green International Affiliates, Inc. for transportation engineering services for Russell Street roadway reconstruction dated June 15th, 2021, for the amount of $87,580.
Moved and seconded. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
It's unanimous.
Sean's over there saying, I would have been quicker. No doubt.
were pretty good.
Thanks.
Thanks, Chris. We do have a public hearing at 7:30, which it looks like the clock on this wall says 7:30. So this is item 7 on our agenda. And it is for, first is Conrad Cafe Incorporated, DBA Dippin' Donuts, for a common vic's license.
That's me.
Do you want me to read the notice?
Well, just come to the
Of
microphone.
course.
I'm gonna read the notice.
You want to read it, or Matthew?
It's up to,
The motion to open?
no, yeah,
The notice, yeah.
yeah, and the motion.
Move that the,
Yep, go ahead. Yep, you good.
do I have it? I have the approval.
Yeah, we don't.
You can make the motion on the fly.
Oh, okay. Oh, I didn't.
Motion open.
I can do that, really?
Sure.
I move that we open a public hearing to consider an application for common victualler license for Conrad Cafe, DBA Dippin' Donuts.
I'll second that, Mr. Administrator, we don't, Mr. Chair, we don't have to read the hearing notice?
Yeah, that's what
I believe we
it
do.
is.
That was
Yes.
it? That was
Yes.
it?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
That wasn't. that
Usually
was
a
the
lot,
motion
a
to
lot
open.
longer when I had to read it.
No, Anthony's got it right now. He's
I'll
gonna
read
read it.
Littleton Select Board will conduct a public hearing on Monday, June 21st, 2021, at 7:35 PM in the Littleton Town Offices, Room 103, 37 Shattuck Street, Littleton, Mass., to act on a request submitted by owner-manager Jessica St. Pierre for a common victualler license under MGL Chapter 40, Section 2 for Dippin' Donuts located at 256 Air Road, Littleton, Mass. Zoom information will be included in the agenda, which will be posted no later than 48 hours prior to the hearing. Copy of the application has been at the Select Board Town Administrator's Office, Room 306, at 37 Shattuck Street. Comments thereon may be submitted in writing to selectboard@littletonma.org or the Select Board Town Administrator's Office, 37 Shattuck Street, Littleton, Mass. 01460 by noon on Wednesday, June 16th, or in person at the hearing. Littleton Select Board, Charles DeCoste, Chair.
Didn't waste any time, huh? Thank you, Mr. Ansaldi. Jessica?
Hi.
Hi. The floor is yours. Just
I'm not too familiar with the process, so I'm here to obtain a common victualler.
Yeah, so just identify yourself and who, you know,
I'm
why you're here.
Jessica St. Pierre, and I'm here representing Conrad Cafe located at 256 Air Road in Littleton, and I'm here to obtain a common victualler.
Okay.
So she acquired the property, you acquired the business during the pandemic, correct?
Correct.
Right.
I'm a renter.
So therefore, we have a change in the common victual license, is why she's here for us tonight.
Thank you, Anthony. Any questions, Jessica, from the board?
No.
Pretty straightforward. There's no,
As far as with no issues with Board of Health or anything like that, all that's...
No, all the permits are acquired.
Great.
Okay. Ready for a
Property
motion?
still owned by, who, Outfit out of Concord? Is that what it is? Well, I thought they actually had sold it.
I don't recall the gentleman's last name, but his first name is Paul.
Oh, that's Paul Ruthie, he
Yeah.
still owns it. All right.
He's still on it.
All right.
Pretty much everything around there.
Yeah, oh yeah.
yeah, and down the road. All right, great. There's no questions. Everything seems to be in order as far as paperwork.
Okay. I move that the Select Board vote to approve the application submitted by owner-manager Jessica St. Pierre for a common victualler license under Mass General Law, Chapter 140, Section 2, for Dippin' Donuts located at 256 Air Road, Littleton, Mass.
With the friendly amendment, move that we close the hearing first.
Yes.
Thank you.
Absolutely.
As amended by
So
Mr.
moved,
Glavy.
Seconded? Okay, so to close the hearing, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Hearing is closed. Take Mr. Nordhaus's amended motion.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Roll call vote in the public hearing?
I don't think that's
No,
necessary.
all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
It's unanimous.
All right.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Public not here.
Yeah,
Oh, yeah. He was back on that.
Rookie mistakes.
yeah, right? Sophomore.
Matthew.
Shall I want me to read the whole notice for the second?
Or I can, if you want to make that motion again to open the public hearing when the chair's
Yeah,
ready.
so I move that we open a public hearing to consider the common victualler license amendment for Donlin Supermarket, 236 Great Road, Littleton, Mass.
Moving second to open the hearing. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
So the hearing is open. If we could have the, you want,
I can read it.
Go ahead.
The Littleton Select Board will conduct a public hearing on Monday, June 21st, 2021 at 7:30 PM in the Littleton Town Offices, Room 103, 37 Shattuck Street, Littleton, Mass, to act on requested amendments to its wine and malt off-premises license under Mass General Law, Chapter 138, Section 15, and an amendment to its common victualler license under Mass General Law, Chapter 140, Section 2, submitted by licensee Donlin's Supermarket, Inc., 236 Great Road, Littleton, Mass. Zoom information will be included in the agenda, which will be posted no later than 48 hours prior to the hearing. Amendments to the wine and malt licenses are listed below. Change of stock interest, change of manager proposed, Kathleen Roth. Change of officers, directors, LLC managers. In addition, an amendment to the common victualler license is requested. Change of store manager proposed, Larry King Jr. A copy of the application may be seen at the Select Board Town Administrator's Office, Room 306, at 37 Shattuck Street, Littleton, Mass. Comments thereon may be submitted in writing to selectboard@littletonmass.org or to the Select Board Town Administrator's Office, 37 Shattuck Street, Littleton, Mass. 01460 by noon on Wednesday, June 16th, 2021, or in person at the hearing, Littleton Select Board, Charles DeCoste, Chair. Both on June 9th, 2021.
thank you.
You're welcome.
All right, so, so who's representing,
Good evening,
the applicant?
Mr. Chairman, members of the board. My name is Alex Parra. I'm an attorney in Acton. I'm here representing the Patels, who are the purchasers of the stock interest in Donlin's. So with me tonight is Mr. Gopal Patel, Mohanbhai Patel. We have Carl Croce, who represents the Donlins, Jack Donlin, Larry King, who's the proposed new store manager, and Kathy Roth, the proposed liquor license manager. I have the
Thank you.
receipts for the butters notices.
Thank you.
There are 4 stores in the Donlin's chain right now, so you're the second in this round robin of obtaining amendments. Lincoln granted the amendment to the liquor license a couple of weeks ago, and from here we're going on to Wayland and Acton. So there are a limited number of components here. The stock ownership is changing. The Patels are buying all of the stock interest of the Donlins in Donlin's Supermarkets. So the entity is going to stay the same. The Patels are just buying the stock interest. We have a change of directors in as much as, although the Donlins are going to stay on for a few months, we're adding Mr. Mohanbhai Patel as one of the directors of the corporation. The corporate officers are changing. Gopal is going to be president, treasurer, and clerk of the corporation. And lastly, with respect to the liquor license, Kathy Roth is going to take on the position of license manager. Kathy has worked for the Donlins for a very long time. Hope you don't mind my saying. She's the director of beer and wine for Donlins since approximately 2000. Is very familiar with the processes and for the sale of alcoholic beverages at the Donlins. I submitted a letter a week or so ago just summarizing what's proposed to transpire. And we attached Donlin's current policies for and procedures for the sale of alcoholic beverages. There's no changes proposed in that. I think it's fairly comprehensive. And as I said, Kathy has a great deal of experience in Marion. So with respect to the common victualer's license, the common victualer's license had Jack Donellan as the store manager. We're changing that to Larry King, who's in fact the store manager in Littleton at this time. And again, he's going to be staying on. So there's a fair amount of continuity here. We're going to try to keep things the same as we make the transition, at least for a period of months, and ensure that we comply with all the requirements of the liquor license laws.
Thanks, Mr. Bear. Any questions from the board?
Is Jack, I can't see you, is Jack Lindblom?
He's hiding.
I'm hiding. I just want to, I want to say thank you for all the years that you've been here. It's, ever since I was a little kid, I was running through your parents' store, your grandfather's store, and it was a great joy. So I just want to thank you for your years of being in town.
We're in good hands with the Patel family.
And welcome.
Thank you. I just want to add, my family is a loyal Donellan's customer. We never shop at Market Basket. I looked through Quicken and I blanched to tell you how much money I've spent in the 21 years I've lived here. But I also really appreciate you're just such a generous corporate citizen of the town. I think a lot of us remember the police vehicle that was marked with Donellan's. I know that every time we had a Boy Scout troop meeting or a soccer game, there was always a donation, and I just really deeply appreciate your generosity to the community. And I'm excited to welcome the Patel family, and I'm also terrified of change, so don't change anything about that. But thank you. I hope we can count on you to keep Donellan's awesome.
Everything remains same, but we always going to strive for the best.
Good. Yeah. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
I like the comments that you made relative to Lincoln, the changes in Lincoln, that things are going to remain the same, but we are going to try to introduce some things, and if people like them, we'll keep them. If they don't like them, we'll move on. Yeah, yes. Good attitude, good input. Appreciate that.
Thank you.
So, yeah, is there any public input? It's just a public hearing, and kind of missed that last time. Anybody have any questions? Or okay, great.
All right, I move that we close the public hearing.
Second.
Move the second. All those in favor of closing the hearing, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, it's unanimous. Hearing is closed.
All right. And I move that the Select Board vote to act on requested amendments to its wine and malt off-premise licenses under Mass General Law, Chapter 138, Section 15, change of stock interest, change of officers, and proposed change of alcohol license manager to Kathleen Roth. Also, an amendment to its common victualler license under Mass General Law, Chapter 140, Section 2, change of store manager to Larry King Jr., submitted by licensee Donellan's Supermarkets, Inc., 236 Great Road, Littleton, Mass.
Moved and seconded. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
It's unanimous. Thank you very much. Wish you the best of luck.
Welcome. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. Good luck. Good luck. I apologize to the police chief and fire chief and deputy. I would hope that if you guys did have something to say, you would have said it, but everything seemed to be in order. But please do speak up, especially like when Anthony's comes up. If you have anything to say, definitely. Sorry, buddy.
Wow.
We do have a couple of minutes before that public hearing does open.
Good to see Eric back, though. It's been a while.
Good, Sean. Sean?
Yeah.
You good, Sean?
I'm on the no huddle if you want.
Yeah, 2 minute drill.
Might be some incompletions, but all right. Good evening. I'm here to talk about the ban sale that we just we're working on completing. We issued $10.95 million for water and sewer infrastructure projects. We did a Cedar Hill water tank, sewer construction, design, and land acquisition, and continued with the water treatment plant facility and the PFAS project. Based on what Anthony was talking about earlier with our credit rating from S&P, we were able to get a great interest rate at 1.5% with a net interest cost of around 16 basis points, which is the lowest I've ever seen. So great job by the team on that. And it'll help with the ratepayers when it comes to paying for water bills going forward. So we're really happy with that. We're looking at interest costs of around $160,000 for next year on the short-term notes. So it'll be pretty good and affordable, and we'll be able to continue these capital projects. So I've also, I think Joe may have distributed packet. It's kind of like some heavy lifting, so an autograph session is in order, I suppose.
Yeah, absolutely. We want to pass those around and take care of that so we can get those executed. And yeah, thank you very much to you and to the team. I know it doesn't happen just in a silo. You go by yourself. Thank you, team, for making this happen. And you know, on behalf of the taxpayers, thank you very much for 1.5% interest rate with a 16 basis points. Is, like you said, unheard of. That's fantastic.
That was great.
Where do we end up placing it?
So it's with Jeffries. And I forgot to mention, we did get a premium of $145,000, so that'll help to cover the issuance expenses and lower our ultimate interest costs.
Oh, that's awesome. Great.
Yeah.
Thanks, Sean.
Excellent.
No problem.
Thank you.
Ready for a motion?
Yes, we'll take the motion while we're Mr. Knox is autographing.
And as part of this motion, do I need to read the articles and dates and the dates and article numbers? Okay. I move that the Select Board vote to adopt the form of the vote prescribed by bond counsel, a copy of which is attached hereto and made part hereof, relative to the approval of a $10,950,000 bond anticipation note dated June 25th, 2021, sold to Jeffries LLC and maturing June 24th, 2022 at 0.1672982% interest for the following projects. Water tank, $3 million. 6/13/20 annual town meeting, Article 26. Sewer construction, $2.5 million. 10/18/20 special town meeting, Article 11. Sewer design, $1.7 million. 10/29/18 special town meeting, Article 10. Sewer land, $1.65 million. 6/13/20 annual town meeting, Article 11. Well fields, $1.1 million, 5/7/18 annual town meeting, Article 19, and water PFAS, $1 million, 10/28/19 special town meeting, Article 12.
Second.
Been moved and seconded. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
It's unanimous. Sean, thank you very much. Again, thank the team. Appreciate that. Okay, so at 7:45-ish, we have another public hearing, and this one is for Anthony's Pizza?
Change of alcohol manager.
I'm sorry.
The Anthony's Coal-Fired Pizza.
Thanks. So, who's on?
Do we need to open a public
Yes,
hearing?
please.
I move that we open a public hearing to consider the application for change of manager for an all-alcoholic beverages restaurant license for Anthony's Coal-Fired Pizza.
Second.
Moving and seconded to open the hearing. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye. And shall I read the notice?
Yes, please.
The Littleton Select Board will conduct a public hearing on Monday, June 21st, 2021 at 7:45 PM in the Littleton Town Offices, Room 103, 37 Shattuck Street, Littleton, Mass., to act on a requested amendment to its all-alcohol on-premises license under Mass General Law, Chapter 138, Section 12, submitted by licensee Anthony's Coal-Fired Pizza, 201 Constitution Avenue, Littleton, Mass. Zoom information will be included in the agenda, which will be posted no later than 48 hours prior to the hearing. Amendment to the all-alcohol restaurant license as listed below. Change of alcohol manager proposed, Amanda Legas Perez. A copy of the application may be seen at the Select Board Town Administrator's Office, Room 306 at 37 Shattuck Street, Littleton, Mass. Comments thereon may be submitted in writing to selectboard@littletonmass.org or to the Select Board Town Administrator's Office, 37 Shattuck Street, Littleton, Mass. 01460 by noon on Wednesday, June 16th, 2021, or in person at the hearing. Littleton Select Board, Charles DeCoste, Chair.
Thank you very much. Ladies, the floor is yours.
Good evening. My name is Elizabeth Pisano. I'm from the law firm Upton, Connell, and Devlin. I'm here representing Anthony's Coal Fire Pizza for the change of manager application. I'm here with Amanda Perez. She is a proposed manager of record. She's been working for Anthony's Coal Fire since 2018. She's recently been promoted as general manager in February. Prior to working at Anthony's Coal Fire, she worked for another restaurant for about 4 years. She is tip certified. She is familiar with the rules and regulations. She's a U.S. citizen. She's a Massachusetts resident. And we're here to answer any other questions you may have.
Great. Thank you very much. Are there any questions of the board or the applicant?
Did I see, is there any concern from the police department?
None whatsoever. Matter of fact, Anthony's Coal Fire Pizza has been outstanding as a reason to work with. And we actually had a little incident after hours, and for the first time, the contact information after hours was correct.
Well, I gotta say congratulations on your promotion.
Thank you.
This must have been a very difficult year for you.
It was. I was a pseudo, so basically I was a pseudo KM of the Littleton location as well as assistant manager. And then I honestly, I think I cried when Eric offered it to me. I was like, 6 months into the company, I took my GM, the senior manager exam, and I passed, and I had been fighting for it, and it was something I really wanted. So it was definitely welcoming and really grateful for it. And I had already known a lot of some of you I recognize obviously from coming in, of course, and I had already had the connection with the guests and even some of the officers that stopped by for lunch sometimes. So it's nice to have that position and still have a part of the community as well.
You gonna go corporate on us like Garrett?
Absolutely not. No, I still try and sneak into the kitchen if Eric tries to pull me out sometimes. Yeah.
Hang around.
Any public input?
I move that we close the public hearing.
Second.
Moved and seconded. All those in favor of closing the public hearing, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
It's unanimous.
I move that the Select Board vote to approve the application of Anthony's Coal-Fired Pizza of Littleton LLC, DBA Anthony's Coal-Fired Pizza at 201 Constitution Ave, The Point, for a change of manager from Taylor Rowland to Amanda Legis Perez for its all-alcoholic restaurant license under Mass General Law, Chapter 138, Section 12.
Motion's been moved and seconded. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
It's unanimous.
Great.
Congratulations.
Congratulations, Amanda.
Good luck. Did you say aye?
She did.
Did we gotta get it on the record.
It's official.
6-0.
Thanks, Eric.
Right.
All right, good deal. So we are, looks like public input members updates, right? So is there anybody in the audience like to offer some public input? Public input, anyone? Well,
I'm here to re-up my CDC.
you're gonna wait your turn, mister. You're gonna have to wait your turn. You'll be called upon. Is there anybody on Zoom that's looking to,
No, none, Mr. Chair.
so, member updates? Do you have anything?
Yeah, a couple of a month ago, Brandon Lavoy, legal candidate for Troop 20, proposed trail work in the new Littleton Town Forest, and he is ready to go forward. So I wanted to give some information. He is building a walking trail from the Harwood Avenue to the edge of the new Durkee Farm development, which will actually connect the train station to Harwood, and eventually, hopefully, we'll have a way to walk all the way into town. He is going to ask for volunteer help to work on the trail on July 3rd, July 17th and 18th, and July 31st, and he can be reached at townforestproject@gmail.com, or just email me and I'll connect you with him. It's a great project, and I wish him the best.
It's awesome. Okay, good deal. I'd recommend, at Harvard Outdoor Power, they have this soap, this bar of soap, that's, you use it after you go outside
Yeah.
to knock down the poison ivy,
Yeah.
or Technu, or recommend that anybody that volunteers get plenty of it.
Or, a Tyvek suit works
Yeah, that
too.
might do it, yeah, absolutely. Is that it for you, Matthew?
That's it for me.
Mr. Knox?
Just quickly, I attended Jamie Eldridge's housing seminar. That was a meeting maybe a week and a half ago. I have all the notes at home, so I'll talk more about it last meeting, but Maureen Barrett was on it, and Anna Houston was on it also. There were 4 excellent speakers that spoke of different types of housing and how to bring things about, so it was very interesting, but I'll bring notes next time.
Ms. Napoli?
Well, I don't want to steal your thunder.
You went. You
No.
can, you can steal.
Okay, so
I'll piggyback on you.
I just wanted to give a shout out to the theater group we have here in town. I was thrilled to attend the opening, or kind of a sneak preview, of Romeo and Juliet at O'Neill Cinemas this past week. It was a amazing production, and hats off to Adam DeCoste for making do during the pandemic to bring forward a production for the seniors and the theater group at the high school. Talk about improvising and just making the best out of a horrible situation, the pandemic, and putting together this production in a film that was then shown at O'Neill Cinema. It was really impressive, and I have to say, and I said it on social media, I love that group. I love that organization. The kids, the students are so talented. I still, every time I see a production, it just blows me away, because I don't know where they get their talent from, but it's certainly impressive, and just one of the many great organizations that we have in town. We have our athletic boosters, we have the theater boosters, we have the music boosters, organizations that support all of these vital activities for our students in Littleton, and we really are very, very fortunate. So I hope that people I think Romeo and Juliet is playing tonight, being shown tonight at O'Neill Cinemas. But if people get the opportunity to see this production, I hope that they take advantage of that, and I hope that they do, going forward, really seek out these groups and support these boosters organizations who support, in turn, these groups. So I just wanted to say, just mention it, Adam, outstanding job. Really, really very impressive, so thank you.
Well, two things, Mr. Chairman. A number of us had the opportunity to join our colleagues, the Light and Water Commissioners, last week at the groundbreaking for the new water filtration and PFAS filtration plant on Whitcomb Avenue. It's a terrific day, and just another reminder of how ahead of the curve that organization has always been, and Board of Health members were there as well. The DEP commissioner was there. Senator Eldridge spoke. Representative Sarah was not able to be there, but representatives from Congresswoman Trahan's office, Emily Byrne was there. A representative from, I think, Senator Markey's office too. DEP commissioner took note of, when the PFAS remediation effort was getting underway. The Littleton Water Department was very much in near daily or weekly anyway conversation with them, and I think they were growing in their approaches to dealing with this crisis statewide, and it left with the impression that Littleton was very much in the vanguard of helping to develop Massachusetts' response to that whole issue. So kudos to all involved there. The second item is congratulations to the Littleton VFW Post Commander Doug Wood, who, first time in my memory that a post commander from the humble little Littleton VFW, which of course is a partner with our town as well in providing us building spaces, was honored by being elected as the commander of the Massachusetts VFW. Right. So we got a big shot in town.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Yeah, absolutely. Kudos to Doug. So there was some thunder stolen, but I'm going to just piggyback on what Cindy said. And she gives a lot of credit to one individual, and it wasn't just one individual. There were a number of people that worked to make that happen. And the boosters are comprised of a number of parents and a bunch of students that have graduated out of the high school and have gone on to their college careers. And the amount of kids that came back, or kids that from the high school that volunteered to be part of the tech crew, and the film was Romeo and Juliet was adapted to be able to be filmed, to create a film, and it was filmed on the playgrounds within our community. So at Castle, at Shaker, at Russell Street, and at the Tot Lot, at Shaker Lane as well. And it was just very cleverly done, but it was done with a lot of input from a lot of parents, a lot of, like I said, students that came back, a lot of the students from the high school that otherwise would not necessarily be doing theater, but found an opportunity to jump in with tech, whether it be Dan Glorioso, I believe, was the young man that did most of the audio editing, and his family's involved with LCTV. If were it not for Mark Curry and his team,
Right.
Adam DeCo spent a lot of time with Mark, so I think I was a little jealous. I kind of feel like Adam should have given Mark a Father's Day card yesterday, because he saw him a lot more over the last few months than I have. But just the development of those kids, all of them, and the lessons that they've learned through that, just like they do through sports or any other activities they do in high school. I appreciate you bringing it up, Cindy. But beyond that production, there was really no vehicle for them to put that out there. And so Adam approached the folks at O'Neill Cinemas, and the folks there were so gracious in setting up a red carpet event last week.
Yeah.
And
was really
allowing
cool.
them to display on the big screen in the big theater, and then to give them tonight again to use the big theater, and any tickets that was sold tonight at 7 o'clock, half of the proceeds went back to Fable, which is the Fine Arts Boosters of Littleton. So my hat's off to everybody that supported them and went out, and Alicia Day and her team shut down Castle on Trees a few times, and the folks at Tiger Den allowed them to film over at the playground over at Russell Street. And so there was a lot of people. It really took a village,
Yeah.
So it was there were some people that didn't see the signs that said, playground closed, and there's a couple of cameos that were not planned that did show up on film.
Yeah,
But
funny.
the kids they did such a great job, and just to see the smiles on those kids' faces, and you really would think that they were showing up at the Oscars last week
Yeah.
when they were walking the red carpet. It was really a cool time for us. So thank you to everybody involved, and my hat comes off very much so to Mr. Crory, and he was unbelievable, and thank you to LCTV, and Brian O'Neill and Zach LaCroix and Lexi Rock, all kids that have graduated and gone through the program, but were there and supporting the whole team. And so, I was just a little choked up thinking about it. They did a fantastic job, so. I think we may have had, was there a hand raised during the public input session that,
Yes, we do. So we have Tim McNeely.
can we allow him in? So, Mr. McNeely, if you could just identify yourself, your address, and then you can give us your comments, your public input, that'd be great.
Hi, yes, so my name is Tim McNally, I'm on 21 Waketail Way, and I'm actually wanted to bring up a topic. I actually was kind of surprised I wasn't on the agenda today, but we wanted to talk about our sidewalks in our community, and some of our sidewalks are starting to deteriorate, and I was actually trying to I was hoping the board would review my request to be able to have our residents actually pay a contractor to seal all the cracks and seal coat our sidewalk. So I didn't know what the proper way to do this was. I thought I was going through the right process, but just didn't know if I didn't do something right. So, but I wanted to, I have a PowerPoint presentation. I know that there's probably rules against me bringing up new business, because like I said, I just didn't see myself on the agenda, but something I was prepared to do.
Did he ask to be on the agenda?
So as the chair, I can work with you to get you on the agenda at an upcoming meeting. And, you have the opportunity to come into this room and do your presentation and let us know what your concerns are. Or, but if you want to give us, just kind of like a 1 or 2 minute overview, that would be helpful, just to kind of educate the board on what's before us.
Sure. Is it okay if I just present real quick?
I don't.
No.
I was just saying, just because we have people waiting to be appointed to boards and committees.
We do have a number of
yeah.
people, we're pretty far behind on the schedule, so it's not on the agenda because we did have so again, as the chair, I have some input on what gets on the agenda, and because we had a pretty packed agenda, I did see that you had requested to be on the agenda, but it didn't fit, and I believe that we did communicate back to you that we'd get you on one of the July agendas.
We'd want the DPW director involved
The
in that, too.
DPW director has been involved, but.
But I mean,
But to be, to
Exactly. No,
attend,
yes.
yeah.
100%. But that,
When it does come up.
Okay. Yeah, I apologize, I was not motivated.
no, it's okay.
That's fine.
Being pushed off. The problem was we actually were supposed to start on June 29th, so this was actually a good time to do this. But essentially, what we're it's a very simple request. We actually have a sidewalk that is about 15 to 20 years old. We're getting some very large sidewalk cracks, and essentially every time every season when we have a little bit more water, a little bit more freezing, the cracks get worse. And essentially what we're trying to do is we know our sidewalk is not the worst in Littleton. It's been pointed out to me by the highway department, but we want to make sure that it doesn't get any worse. So what we're trying to do is our sidewalk's about 15 to 20 years old. We essentially want to repair the small cracks and fill some of the larger cracks. And we were willing to do it at our cost. And I got a really good deal from a local contractor using commercial grade products. So I have pictures, I have a lot of different things to show you guys, and happy to come back at a future meeting.
Yeah, I can appreciate the fact that you were able to negotiate a good deal, and that there was a timeline that you were hoping to fit this in with. We do have a lot of business that we have to attend to, and frankly, we don't typically allow for residents to make repairs to our roads or our public ways. There's pardon me?
procurement law, liability.
Yeah, there's a whole lot of, there's liability, so there's some legal issues, there's procurement law. We're bound by Chapter 30B out of the Mass General Laws, which doesn't mean a whole lot to you, but whenever we procure any type of services or products, we have to go through a very stringent process, and this would kind of be an end around to that process. So we perhaps you and I could meet offline with the DPW director and maybe with either the assistant town administrator or the town administrator, and we could kind of go through, kind of what hurdles are there and see if there is an opportunity for us to work together. We do have a process for roadways where we rate roadways, and that does come before this board, where we determine which roads should be higher on the list, and there's basically a rating system, if you will, to determine which roads get repaired and when, and what type of process we use in those repairs, whether it's seal coating or replacement or what have you. So there have been some conversations around us doing improvements to sidewalks for the last couple of years. Maybe we need to, put a little more focus and a little more spotlight on that and move that up on our agenda a little bit. But I would ask that you and your neighbors refrain at this point from doing any kind of repairs on behalf of the town. If you want to do something like seal coat your own driveway that crosses the sidewalk, I think that's reasonable. But as far as if there's a 100-foot stretch of sidewalk in front of your property where there's cracks and that kind of thing, I'm not sure that the board would be able to give you the green light to go ahead and hire an outside company to make those repairs. So I'm happy to meet with you. I can.
Has Mr. Stoddard been
Yes, I was
made
out there.
aware?
We were out there.
You were out there? Okay. All right. Okay.
So if that's something that you're interested in, I can get a hold of you, and I think one of you have. I know
We have his
Chris
contact.
has your contact information, right? The DPW director.
Yes, I'm willing to meet with you. Again, I'm just trying to do the right thing, trying to make sure our community stays beautiful and basically the best town to live in Massachusetts. So trying to make sure that this is something that we take seriously. So if it's not the right way to do it, I'm happy to pursue other avenues. I just don't want to say, I don't want the answer to be a no, and we're not going to do anything about it, just let it deteriorate. That's all. That's my main ask.
Okay. Yeah, I'll definitely reach out to you, and we can look at some path forward. I don't know what that path is, but we can look at something that we can bring before this board, and hopefully address your concerns.
Okay, thank you, sir.
You bet. Thank you. Any other hands raised? Okay. So, moving on, we are at appointments. I think the Clean Lakes Commission we're gonna put last tonight.
I think Chief Penard's ready for constables.
What's that? Sure, I'd love to step up. Mr. Chair, in the interest of time, I'll be very quick. This is just the reappointments of the constables for the town of Littleton. 4 out of, I believe, 7 we have total. The first one will be Ronald Raffi, who lives here in town. The next one will be Keith Layton of Air, Mass. Third will be David Allen of Littleton, Mass. And the fourth is Andrew Samarco, who actually just left, who's on Concom. They're all up for appointment. They're expiring June 30th. I'd like to get them reappointed if possible. Okay. Any questions of the chief?
No.
Relative to our
No,
constables?
we're all good folks.
Yep.
All reappointments? Sounds good.
All right. I move that the Board of Selectmen vote pursuant to Mass General Law, Chapter 41, Sections 91A and B, to reappoint the following individuals as constables of the town of Littleton, each for a term expiring in June 30th, 2024. David J. Allen, Keith Layton, Ronald Raffi, and Andrew Samarco.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, it's unanimous. Thank you very much, Chief.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Chief.
Thank you, Board.
Want me to tee it up?
Chief. What's that?
Want me to tee it up?
Agricultural Committee? Is that what you mean? Tee it up?
Yes, so, yes, Mr. Chair, this is a town meeting established commission. There's 3 seats open for 3-year terms, Jerry Cavallo, Scott Matheson, Brad Mitchell, and they're all seeking reappointment, and those are the only 3 applicants that we received.
Okay. Mr. Pickett, do you have anything to add, or you good? Thank you very much. Appreciate you hanging in with us.
I have a couple questions. One is Christine Nordhaus is listed in the packet as being a member, but I think she was replaced by Tommy, let me see, Tommy Jensen several years ago.
Yeah, that's correct.
But I don't have, Tommy isn't mentioned in the packet or have an address. So if we could get that corrected, it would be
that's a
great.
problem.
We'll take that up with the town clerk.
Okay, thank you. And then the other thing is, I noticed, there aren't any minutes from this
Listed on the
year's
Housing
meetings
Trust.
at all. There's 2 agendas, but no minutes, and I'm wondering if you could get those posted.
I believe minutes have been submitted. We just had a meeting last week. So
Okay.
They should be in now. I think.
Okay. And the other thing I noticed is that you've had the same officers for 3+ years. And in my opinion, that's less than ideal for a board, and I would urge you to re-elect someone.
That's not our purview.
Preferably switch officers to someone who hasn't had that position before.
I respectfully disagree with you. That's the purview of that Board of Commission. There's no policy in place for, if the same, Mr. Fontanello was the chair of the school committee for 12 years in a row, and quite effectively. And, if it seems to be working, and the CONSCOM has had similar situations where they've had the same, I don't think it's our purview to advise one of the boards of commissions that's under our appointment.
So I thought there was a policy on the town website, a part of our bylaws, which recommended that the board switch officers every year.
It's not part of our bylaws. It was one of the things when we put together the welcome package for the boards and committees that we appoint, that now would be the time, if they wanted to reorganize and change officers, that they could, but it's not something that we enforce, and it's certainly not a bylaw.
I don't believe it's a policy even. It was just something that was.
No, that was something that we just talked about in, like, the welcome package that talks about, preparing meeting minutes, posting agendas and things like that. Attendance was something that we talked about as a board, but also just saying to boards and committees, if you want, when you do get your appointments annually, that is a time to talk about reorganization.
And reorganization to be with the same people.
Yeah, it's totally up to them whether they do it or not. It's not something that we enforce whatsoever.
Any other questions of Mr. Pickard?
Are you going to stick around 43 years like your dad did?
We'll see. think that's the best answer. All right, understand the motion.
Oh, yes. Okay. Let's see.
Complicated.
I move that the select board vote to appoint Jerry Cavallo, Scott Matheson, and Brad Mitchell to a term on the Agricultural Commission for a term expiring June 30th, 2021. That's it.
Are those dates correct? Term ends June 30th, 2021?
2021?
I think we want to go with the 24th.
No, 2024, yes.
Well, who to point the finger at, but we've repeatedly had a bunch of issues with accuracy on these appointments, with numbers on the warrant sheets and all the rest of it, and it's important.
Okay, so I do see that the positions below it does say 2024, so I will amend my motion. The term should end on June 30th, 2024.
Isn't there a motion in the back?
Let's move in second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 It's unanimous. Thanks, Will. All right, the Affordable Housing Trust, and then guess what's up, Mr. Bush?
Yeah, the,
Mr. Chair, I just wanted to let you know, and through you to the board, that one of the applicants we have down here, Luigi Iacovello, was not aware that there was another person on there, and happens to be an incumbent, and he asked me by email to withdraw.
Okay, thank you.
and I wanted to point out too, current composition of this board is incorrect. I'm not listed. I'm actually the Board of Selectmen appointee. It states on here that Matthew is the Board of Selectmen appointee, although Matthew is the town administrator designee.
Can we get that amended for the clerk?
And Maureen Donnelly has resigned her position. Actually, I don't know if she's officially submitted her resignation, but her term came to an end. So Maureen Donnelly is no longer on the Housing Trust Board. We're waiting for a recommendation from the Council on Aging Board to fill her seat.
Okay. Is this something that we need to manage through Diane Dickerson, or?
I think it was between, I think Diane Dixon was doing some of this, but,
Just trying to do it remote, so there's probably some challenges,
Yeah.
but let's try to nail this down if we could. Maybe there needs to be a reach out to the chairs of these boards before we get it before us.
Well, it's really, it's the town clerk should have this information, and Diane Dickerson. It's right on the town website.
But it comes
So I
from-
don't know.
It comes from us to Diane Dickerson, from Diane Dickerson down to Diane Rory.
I can look into.
Yeah,
what-
I'm just
what-
saying, it's, what's posted here in our packet doesn't mirror what's on the town website. It's correct on the town website, so somewhere it got,
Okay.
yeah.
Right.
But I think, to echo what the chairman said, somewhere before it comes to us, somebody should actually talk to somebody on the commission to see who's.
Say, is this correct? Yeah.
This is
Yeah.
correct.
And to be clear, only Mr. Montanari is going to be appointed to this board. Is that correct?
Well, all I'm saying is the other applicant withdrew.
Okay,
That's all.
all right.
What you choose to do is up to the board.
Okay, so are we ready to have a motion?
Yes.
I move that the Select Board vote to appoint Mark Montanari to a term on the Affordable Housing Trust for a term expiring June 30th, 2024.
Moving second, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
It's unanimous. Thank you very much. Next up, we have the Clean Lakes Committee.
Clear Lakes, we have a number of vacancies, Mr. Chair, Spec Pond member, Mill Pond alternate, Long Lake member, Lake Manawanaki member, and a citizen at large. We've received applications from Leon Weaver, Spec Pond member.
Spelled correct. I think it's ER too, but
ER.
he's been on.
Mitt Wanzer, Mill Pond alternate, Charles Bush, Lake Manawanaki member, David Barr, citizen at large, Jonathan Folsom, Long Lake member, and Mike Prue, Mill Pond member.
Okay.
And you know what, and I'm going to give you the motion once you're ready, because mine's clearer for you.
That would be great. Are you ready for a motion?
Actually, before that,
Okay.
Mr. Bush, do either of you have
Well,
any?
you gave us a letter that was supposed to come here. So I came here. The other people shouldn't be getting on. Some rules. When do we change these rules here? I'm Chuck Bush. I've been on the Clean Lakes Committee for, I don't know, since it almost started. I'm being here to be reappointed, and that's all I got.
Thank you for coming.
Thank
All
you.
right.
Is Mattawamkeag clean, check?
Oh, wicked.
You doing
Wicked clean.
Just don't come over there. It's a private lake.
It's a private thing.
See ya.
We haven't appointed you yet.
Oh,
Uh-oh, 5-second rule.
So, my name is Dave Barr. I'm already on the Clean Lakes Committee. I'm the clerk for the Clean Lakes Committee. I'm also the president of Friends of Forest Pond, which is a group that works to keep Lake Mattawamkeag environmentally good.
Wicked good.
Yeah. Wickedest. And I'm also active in the Westford Healthy Lakes and Ponds Collaborative, which is the sister organization to the Clean Lakes Committee. So I appreciate being here. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, Westford, where they mistakenly refer to as Forge Pond, correctly?
Yeah, I don't know where to get the idea.
you grew up in Littleton, Mattawamkeag.
That's you're darn right.
Are we ready for a motion?
Yeah.
I move that the Select Board vote to appoint the following individuals to the Clean Lakes Commission. Leon Weaver, Spectacle Pond member. I'll just do all the terms at the end. Mitt Wanzer, Mill Pond alternate. Charles Bush, Lake Mattawamkeag member. David Barr, citizen at large. Jonathan Folsom, Long Lake member. And Michael Pruill.
It's supposed to be next.
Pruill.
Yeah,
Mill Pond member, all for terms expiring on June 30th, 2024.
with the exception of Mike Prue is filling in a vacancy, so it's
Exception,
2022.
Mike, as amended, as corrected.
Second.
Okay. Moved and seconded. All those in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
It's unanimous.
Have a nice evening.
Thank you.
Good luck, Chief. Good luck, Bruce.
All right, Council on Aging.
Council on Aging, Mr. Chair, we have three applicants, three positions that were up. It was Marjorie Paynes, Wendy Smarco, Maureen Donnelly, and we have four applicants, Marilyn Fidelis, Marjorie Payne, Bill Schmidt, and Lorelei Richardson. So you need to fill three out of the
Are they on the
four.
call by any chance?
Yes, we do have William Schmidt.
I know Marge is on the call,
Marge is
too.
on. Laurel, and I believe we also have Marilyn.
Pull them in alphabetically, I guess. Marilyn. Well, actually, Marge is incumbent
In chair.
chair, so let's. Let me pull Marge in first.
Yes.
Thank you. You out there, Marge?
Oh, yeah, I don't know what the video is, but anyway, you can hear me, can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Okay. Well, I need to be reappointed, if, that might be in your favor. But I'm also here because we have two vacancies. If I am reappointed, there would be two vacancies. And we have three applicants, and the board did interview all three applicants, so. And I sent a memo forward about that, voting. So if you have questions from me, I'd be glad to try to answer them. I'd like to be around for at least a little bit longer, as this is a very exciting period of time with a possible yet-to-be-named new building.
I wasn't here last week.
Seniors, so, I would love to be
That's what
reappointed.
I'm looking for.
I attended the meeting where they voted, and so I can tell you what the recommendation of the board was, if you are interested.
Yeah, I'm interested, but also interested to know why we didn't get the letter that we.
So Marge, you had submitted a letter to us?
I sent it to Anthony, to his office, regarding, for the recommendations to the select board.
Okay, thank you, and thank you for stepping up again.
So, I mean, it's an unusual year for us. We had Maureen Donnelly is stepping down from the board, and that's why I've been listening when you were talking about the Affordable Housing Trust. The position on the Affordable Housing Trust is a COA board appointed position, and so we will do that at our meeting in July, appoint a new member to the Affordable Housing Trust, if I'm there. But anyway, in July. But, yes, and then we had 3 applicants for 2 vacancies, and it was a tough decision. So and Matthew was there, I think he can attest to that, so.
Okay.
He did participate in the meeting. And I know all 3 applicants were going to be present tonight. I don't know what happened to Lorelei Richardson. But she is also an applicant that we met with.
Okay, I think they are all hanging out there in cyberspace, so we'll probably pull them each in and let them say their piece.
Okay, great.
Thanks, Marge.
Thank you, Marge.
Yeah, thank you.
Let them say their thing, and then you could let us know. I'll let you pull up what you can get in.
Okay. First one's L'Oreal.
Lorelei?
Lorelei.
Okay, Lorelei, you are being pulled into the meeting. If you could just identify yourself, your address, and then just kind of give us a little bio and why you are interested in serving on the Council on Aging. Please.
Sure. My name is Lorelei Richardson. I live at 331 Goldsmith Street in Littleton. I have a PhD in gerontology, which is the study of aging. So I'm looking to help out with town affairs, and like Marge said, this is a really exciting time to get involved. I'm new to town government, but everybody was new before, and I think we all bring our own talents and come together as a board. Do you have any questions for me?
Let me ask. Any questions for Lorelei?
No. Nope.
Thank you.
No, thank you very much for stepping up.
coming
And we're going to listen to the other applicants, and we'll deliberate and put you through the ringer, and thank you for stepping up. But if you could just hang on, we're going to have an interview with each of the other candidates, and then we'll make a decision within the next few minutes. Thanks, Lorelei.
Okay, and I just brought in Marilyn.
Marilyn, you are...
Hi, Jack.
Hi, how are you?
Good, how are you?
Doing well, thank you. If you could just identify yourself and the same, just give a little bio and let us know why you're interested in serving on the COA.
Yeah, Marilyn Fidel, 4 Reed Lane in Littleton. I'm really interested in it. Number one, I'm in that age group. I'm retired, so I have plenty of time on my hands. I really think that I understand a lot of what the seniors need, and it's very exciting. I really want to do the best I can to make sure that this new building gets built to satisfy, to help give all of the seniors a place where they can socialize, where they can play games together, do things like that. I just think that's the place I need to spend some time. And I also volunteer right now in the COA office, covering the telephones and doing whatever needs to be done.
Okay, great. Thanks, Marilyn.
You're welcome.
And
Same
last,
thing, we're going to, sorry, Joe, we're going to listen to the third candidate here, and then we'll make a decision. So if you could just hang in there, and you'll hear our decision shortly.
okay, and lastly, William Schmidt.
So Bill, you're being pulled in. If you could do the same thing, just introduce yourself, your address, and give us a little bio and why you're interested in serving the COA for us.
Thank you. Bill Schmidt for Gemlock Street, Littleton. Very much interested in the seniors as being one myself. However, I think the other candidates are good choices, and so therefore I'll just withdraw and let them go for it. Thank you much.
Thank you, Bill.
Thanks, Bill.
Okay.
Okay, well,
Makes it kind of easy.
Yeah, it does.
Bill, thank you. Appreciate you, the service that you do give us in volunteering for the town on the personnel board and other capacities. Appreciate you stepping aside and making our decision that much easier. So for Marilyn, Lorelei, and I think Marjorie was kind of a foregone conclusion. I'm pretty comfortable with going forward with those three appointments. I will say for these members that we're appointing, as well as anybody else that's stepping forward and volunteering to be appointed to a board or commission, please go see the town clerk and get sworn in. You cannot attend a meeting without being sworn in. If you're an incumbent and you're being reappointed tonight, you do have a little bit of a grace period, but we'd ask that as soon as possible you get in to see the town clerk and get sworn in and get some paperwork, and you will have to do some online ethics training if you haven't done it within the last couple of years. So, if there's
for
no
a
deliberation, I think I'd entertain a motion.
I move that the Select Board appoint Marjorie Payne, Marilyn Fidel, and Lorelei Richardson to the Council on Aging for term ending June 30th, 2024.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
It's unanimous. Thank you very much for all of you for stepping forward, for Bill, for your graciously bowing out, I guess. And again, just please go see the town clerk to get sworn in. All right, next up, we have the Cultural Council.
One second, Mr. Chair. We have two positions that the board could fill tonight, although there was a number of, they can go up to 22 members, I believe, or somewhere around that 20 member. Heidi Montanari is resigning effective June 30th, 2021, and then there was a vacancy. So there's two applicants that submitted, Emily Giddings and Julie Baker, looking for appointment to the Cultural Council.
Are either of them on the call?
No. Oh, wait, Julie Baker just raised her hand.
So, Julie, if you're being pulled into the meeting, same thing. If you could just introduce yourself, let us know your address and your interest in a little bit of bio and your interest in the Cultural Council.
Hi, good evening. So I have been a visual arts educator in the Marlborough Public Schools for the past 17 years. And through that time, I have become familiar with the grant cycle with Massachusetts Cultural Council. I've written grants and received grants to host visiting artists in our schools, as well as fund some other special projects. And I am excited to get involved at a local level and support the arts in our community.
Great. Thank you. Any questions of Julie? Julie, appreciate you stepping forward. You bring a great skill set and some great experience, so I think you'd be an asset and a good addition to the Cultural Council. Do we have
Just
Emily?
It looks like we have Kimberly, yes, raising her hand. I didn't.
Emily Giddings? Or Kimberly Albertelli?
Kimberly Albertelli.
She's raising her hand?
Yes.
All right. Kim, if you want to come in and, as a sitting member of the Cultural Council and offer your input? I'm assuming that's why you're raising your hand? You muted, Kim?
Looks like she is muted now, like one of the,
By us or by herself?
Sorry.
There you go, we got you.
There you go, thanks guys. So we were able to meet these new people and we love them, so I will be the co-chair this year. And we are very much hoping that you will say yay.
Thanks, Kim.
You bet.
What's your name again? Kim Albertelli from?
My name is Kim Albertelli at 21 Mort Lane.
Thank you. Just for the record.
Got it.
Appreciate it. Okay, Emily's still not in?
No.
Okay. So.
Ready for a motion?
Absolutely.
I move that we appoint Emily Giddings and Julie Baker to the Cultural Council for a term ending June 30th, 2022.
Second.
Moved and seconded. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
It's unanimous. Great. Thank you very much. So, Julie, if you could just make sure that you get in to see the town clerk so that you can get sworn in, and she's got to give you some basic info about serving on a board or commission.
Thank you, I will. Is that term date correct, though? I thought it was a 3-year term.
It could be.
It's a 3-year term.
It's a 3-year term. Okay, well.
Call the motion.
Shall I make a new motion?
So, well, I guess Heidi's term was not.
Yeah, maybe it might not be.
So Heidi's term ended 2022, and it says one additional position with a term ending 2023. There's nothing here that says 2024. So just tell me what I should say.
One is 2024, and the other one is 2023.
So Emily would be 2023, and Julie would be 2024?
Julie's
up
in
to the
2024
board.
because she's here.
Okay.
year.
Congratulations, you just talked yourself into another year. All right. Let me do another motion then. I move that the Select Board appoint Emily Giddings to the Cultural Council for a term ending July 30th, 2023, and Julie Baker to the Cultural Council for a term ending June 30th, 2024.
Just amend the, I think Emily just said July.
Isn't it June?
They are all June.
June 30th.
Yeah. Sorry.
Second.
Friendly amendment.
Okay.
It's moved and seconded. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
It's unanimous.
Great.
Thank you very much. Thanks for that catch.
Thank you, Julie.
Littleton Community Television Advisory Committee, there's 2 vacancies, both expiring on June 30th, 2021, so they'll go through 2024.
Got it.
Their 2 applicants are Leslie Glorioso, who's seeking reappointment, and a new applicant, Adam DeCoste.
No relation.
Kid's a hack.
Any comments?
I have a lot of comments.
Is he out there in cyberspace, Joe? No?
Well, so he
ordered not to be?
Well, they had the
Productions tonight.
production
Oh,
tonight,
of
the
course,
Romeo and
yeah.
Juliet, and he was stressing out, like, I can dial in. I said, I think you're okay.
Adam, wherefore art thou?
Exactly, we're far out though, Adam. Is there any reason for me to recuse myself in this instance, or?
No money involved.
Yeah, there's no money involved, and it's a, yeah, okay. No conflict.
And Leslie's not on the, well, we're fine, she's a reappointment anyway. Great.
All set? All right. Good. I move that the Select Board vote to appoint Leslie Glorioso and Adam DeCoste to a term on the Littleton Community Television Advisory Committee for a term expiring June 30th, 2024.
Second.
Moved and seconded. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
It's unanimous. Great. Thank you very much. Again, if they're listening, please go see the town clerk to be sworn in and get a whole huge packet of documentation you have to read before you go to your first meeting. That was mostly a joke. All right, next up, we have the Personnel Committee.
Personnel Committee, Mr. Chair, let me start this by saying, I think it was Selectman Glavy that asked we check with town council. With me not being here last week, I there's some things that just didn't happen. So if you want to just table this one until I get that information, or...
Either that, or, I mean, there are some topics I would like to address, too. I'm currently the board's appointee to that committee, as you know. Succeeded Joe last year, and, it was a year of, we expected it to be a year of transition toward a professionalization of the HR office, and hired staff accordingly, or began that process. And the Personnel Committee, the advice we had from council's offices with that was that we should be phased out, and that was part of bylaw changes, which initially the Personnel Committee saw the wisdom to and agreed to unanimously, and then later on, a couple of members changed it, and that, kind of brought a couple of things to a halt. We had to, with all the controversy, had to withdraw our personnel article from town meeting, which is unfortunate, and then our HR director, with less than 6 months on the job, left town, and I hate the thought that by letting the Personnel Committee linger and continue, once upon a time, it was appropriate way to deal with human resource issues, but it's now very much a professional operation, and I think prospective employees view it as such. And I hate to think that we might be jeopardizing, our hiring pool because they see what goes on with our resistance to moving into the modern age with our personnel process. So if we're going to do an interview with one candidate, I very much want to discuss that topic with Bill, since he was one of the folks who had changed his mind and resisted that change. But beyond that, as Anthony alluded to, if our board's continued position is that we want to follow council's advice and move toward an article in the fall, which would, amongst the changes proposed, is eliminating the Personnel Committee, should we be making appointments for an extended period of time at any? And I include my own position in that as well. So I don't know, either way, if the board wants to act on it tonight, fine. I'd like to hear Bill speak to those issues, or if the board thinks we should wait to get advice on council on that, then I'm happy either way.
I'd wait to hear from council about it.
I prefer to wait to hear from council on it, and we did agree at a previous board meeting that we were going to go back with the Personnel Committee, because they had revisions or something to the handbook.
Yeah, there is ongoing activity with that.
Discussion.
Anthony's probably more on top
Right.
of that than I am.
And
but,
so we had conveyed to them that we would work with them on that language, with the objective being that we were bringing the article back in the fall.
Right.
Once we could iron out the details of the language in that handbook. So I think it's wise of us at this stage to wait and talk to town council before we act on any.
Yeah, and to your earlier point, Paul, when we talked about really professionalizing the HR department, the board made that commitment when you chose to go with the recommendation that I gave you in moving from an HR manager to an HR director. I think by doing so, without disclosing some of the applicants that we received for it, but right now, it considerably changed the talent pool that we're getting. So I think we're in the right direction, and yes, I think there was more work that was to be done with the handbook and some modifications that we recognize we could still work with, and hopefully the new HR director will also add something to that and help get that to a better level. But we haven't heard anything back from anybody in the Personnel Committee on any recommendations.
All right, so we're going to table
well,
personnel
that's
for now?
just my
That's fine.
recommendation.
I think, I agree, we should hear from council and make sure we're doing the right thing, the sensible thing moving forward.
And follow up on the dialogue that Cindy had mentioned too. I mean, the way we withdrew that in order to pick it up later.
Get
with
all the
both-
information.
Yeah, with both addressing the issues in the personnel book, but with the very stated intention, though, our plan was to come back in the fall. But I think we need to reconnect with them, are they still, is that their understanding, or do they believe
Right.
something different?
Yeah, there is a meeting tomorrow. Joe, what time's the meeting tomorrow? 8:30?
What, a personnel committee meeting? I don't remember getting an email on that one.
The agenda went out. We set it up at the last meeting, 8:30.
Well, the last
Oh,
meeting
we
I
gotta
missed, 'cause
cut
I was
out.
at another meeting on behalf of the board, so when
Right.
that happens, how are you supposed to know? If you miss a meeting, you don't find out when the next meeting is? You say the agenda went out?
Yeah.
All right, so
In any event, that doesn't affect what we're doing right now. We should just,
right, so we'll table personnel until the next meeting, or do we want to move forward and?
just
We'll
assume.
Get advice from town council.
Okay, yeah, it seems like that's the consensus.
Mhm.
All right, so.
Sure. You have a hand raised.
I can't see who it is.
Anita.
Well, we're moving on with it, though.
Okay.
Right? I mean,
Yeah,
We're gonna pick that topic up at another
yeah,
meeting.
yeah. All right, so next up, we have Transportation Advisory Commission, Committee, I'm sorry.
so there's two vacancies, two positions to fill Gary LaCroix's, and then there was a vacant position, which was a community-at-large representative. I'm sorry, yes. And we received an appointment, a request by Gary LaCroix for reappointment, and also Ann Grace for that vacant position.
Is Ann on the Disabilities Commission?
Ann is on BPAC, I'm pretty sure. Let me look.
Okay, so that's the,
Yes,
that's
that's
the
correct.
community at
That is
large.
correct?
All right,
Yeah.
So we still do have the disability vacancy and the FinCom vacancy. Betsy's. that's
Right.
gonna be a vacancy. Okay, so we need to keep an eye on that
Mhm.
tack.
If I may, Mr. Chair, too.
Absolutely.
Gary had come before the board to talk about this committee and asking us to kind of formulate a succession plan and really take a look at the future of this committee. I know that Mr. Knox is now the liaison on Transportation Advisory Council for the Select Board, right?
I just missed last meeting.
Yeah, so maybe we can just, I just don't want the board to lose sight of that, because Gary, at the time I was the chair, and I said to Gary that we would bring him back to have that discussion, but maybe in the interim, Mr. Knox can work with that group and just see if they can formulate some sort of vision and then bring it back to the board.
Yeah.
Because I just don't want to lose track of that.
Gary does such a great job.
He does, yeah, it's very detail-oriented and, yeah, yeah. Agreed.
But a part of me kind of wanted to not listen to him when he said he wanted transition.
La, la, la.
I'm not hearing you. All right, so, but he is an applicant for reappointment here, along with Ann Grace, so.
Ready for a motion?
Yes, please.
I move that we appoint Ann Grace and Gary LaCroix as community at-large members for the Transportation Advisory Committee for terms ending on June 30th, 2024.
Second.
Moving second, all those in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, it's unanimous, great. Thank you very much. Again, anyone who's been appointed to a board, commission, committee, what have you, please go visit Diane Corey in the clerk's office on the second floor here, and be sworn in. And thank you very much for stepping forward and volunteering. All right, we are 6J, Select Board Committee Assignments. Is that something we want to move forward with tonight, or?
Yes.
Okay.
Well, the first thing that struck me about that is how incomplete that list is.
Well, that's why
Yeah,
I
gotcha.
started working on that today, to change that, the ones that I jumped out at me.
Yeah, I mean, I haven't been in the Transportation Advisory Council for, I mean, I was only a second to
Right.
Chase.
Yeah, that was just, hasn't been
This was
updated
and I was,
from
yeah.
Joe.
But there's other things like the sewer working group, Chuck and I are on there. I don't know if this is, like, since it's a formal position, the personnel
Home
committee.
revitalization and the.
Yeah, these are formal committees as opposed to the liaisons to those other working groups.
Oh, okay. All right, so these are, all right, I get you.
I don't know if you want to just include that as part of the board's goal setting, or doing it
So-
at that point.
If I may, Mr. Chair. I'd like to become involved again with the Littleton Station Area Committee, and I don't think that's something that can wait for goal setting. just because we're trying to bring back the 40R bylaw at town meeting in the fall, and there's a lot of work to be done. So I was going to ask the board if they would consider appointing me back on that committee. I was on it originally, but I'd like to be back involved at this point, if the board would be agreeable to that.
Do you have any thoughts on that?
I mean, I actually feel that that's, now that we're getting back into the negotiation, like the discussion of how we're going to make this work in the fall, that the context that I have on that and you is valuable. So I also very much want to be part of that moving forward. I think it's, it's a good fit with the housing, the Affordable Housing Trust and the Housing Authority, from my point of view.
Right. Yeah, certainly. I mean,
So, do we have a list of everything that we're on right now? Like, so this is the beginning of it, so.
These are the formal committees, all the other working groups.
Like Matthew's position on the Housing Authority, we filled that to appoint him to a vacancy, but it's not like the selectman
that's
has
not
a
us.
seat on it.
No, that's actually not.
So it really shouldn't be
Right.
up there.
He was elected to that,
I'm elected to that
separately from.
now, yeah.
oh,
Oh, is
yeah.
that,
So we don't have a seat there?
Right.
So when it was vacated, I
It's just
got
a
I got a joint
coincidence.
Okay.
appointment
Oh, okay,
with the
all
Housing
right.
Authority just to fill a seat so that they could have their meetings.
okay.
And then.
I
You did
replaced.
All right, so then, right, then that,
Nobody ran for it, so.
okay, then that should,
Matthew beat me in a write-in battle.
It was like 14-6.
right.
So, but yeah, I mean,
So that should come off.
Yeah.
so this is official appointments, not, as you say, not liaisons.
Right.
Great.
Right.
Okay,
Yeah, voting members, right?
voting members.
So personnel should be on there.
And do we need to,
Right.
do we, as the select board, need to vote to reconvene the Littleton Station Area Committee? Because I think it was voted to dissolve that when the project
It
got
was
turned
thrown-
over
it was
to
thrown all
planning
back
board.
to the planning board.
So they need to vote to reconvene it, but in the interim, we can vote to appoint who we want to be liaisons to that
I
committee?
don't
or-
remember taking a vote to dissolve it.
Yeah, I
I
don't
don't think we
know.
did. I think we just said, okay, now the planning board's taking over. I could be misremembering.
I just don't know if we need to, do we need to do that?
I don't think we dissolved it, I don't know if we dissolved it.
And I don't know that the planning board really has the power to do that. I mean, sometimes we share authorities, but as
Right.
appointing authorities, especially for our own membership.
Okay.
And back to Cindy's original point, if she wants to get back re-engaged, I certainly support that. How you two sort that out? I heard Matthew speak to it.
Yeah, I mean, it's, obviously, it's a huge impact on the community, and I'm interested in it, and don't necessarily want to give it up, but I'm open to some public forums and debates, and getting on the stump. Well, is it something we need to decide tonight? Is it,
If you want another hat to wear, I'll give you my personnel committee seat if you want something else. As long as you promise to go.
Thanks.
As long as you promise to throw the sharp elbows like I do.
Boy. Do you know what the meetings are?
No. Good luck with that one, too. They're usually during working hours, I know that.
That's something you definitely want to stay on, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, I do.
Yeah, I think, if that's something that you're passionate about, you want to get on there and just kind of flip-flop. Have some interaction as far as the chair, any interaction that you might have had as the chair, talking to the chair of the planning board, just kind of flip hats.
Right.
That's something that,
I can't see anybody locking you out of a room, Chuck.
I got the keys.
I mean,
There's only one key to the whole town.
right. I mean, certainly still want you involved in some capacity, but
I think we all are going to be involved.
yeah, but it just as far as trying to reorganize that group, reconvene that group, work with Delisa and Mark on it. You know, I have some ideas and how we can really get more information out there to the public in the timeframe that we need to.
If we need to do any kind of a formal vote, let's, I'll entertain a motion to.
I think our challenge here is not to have more than 2 members so that it doesn't throw a majority of the board.
Absolutely, yeah.
And I'm comfortable and confident that the chair appropriately can find his way into any appropriate conversation. So I would, looking for a motion, I'll move to appoint Cindy then and Matthew as our 2 members for the upcoming year to the Littleton Station Area Committee.
Second. Moving the second, all those in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
So that one you say aye right away too, huh? Aye. It's unanimous.
Thank you, Chuck, I appreciate it.
No problem at all. But again, you have to go to the clerk's office. It's a-
Right,
it's a
get
separate-
sworn in.
Separate committee.
And we're pretty sure that the committee still exists.
Pretty sure.
But following on,
Morgan, help him, Mercy?
I just don't want to go there and have her be like, that committee got dissolved and have it
So
delay
she's fine.
the process.
following on your earlier point too, Chuck, just the general nature of this, we need to kind of make this on our next agendas and maybe circulate something earlier, a list of what we think all the appointments are, or get members to say, here's what I think I'm on, you know.
And I think we should also include liaisons with that, because even
Yeah,
if they're
it's
not
just-
voting
they're murky
members,
lines.
let's be
Yeah.
clear about who is reporting on what every week or
Right.
every month.
Right.
Because just looking up there, the only one that's a bylaw committee is Personnel Committee. The rest of those are all creations of the board, I believe.
Right,
Correct.
yeah. AgCom's not on, Ag Commission's not on there, right?
We have a
Yeah.
seat on
The-
that board?
Or the AgCom working group, right?
We're the liaisons
The
on
AdCom
that.
working group?
Yeah, we're the
The
liaisons
AdCom
on
working
that.
group.
AgCom,
Working
not to
group.
be
Yeah, yeah,
confused.
Not to be with the
No.
I
AdCom.
mean, there hasn't been a meeting that I've been aware of.
No,
for-
yeah, the
forever,
working
But there's
group.
a whole lot of that kind of stuff out there. We need
Yeah.
to,
So do we need to do the motions for the rest of these appointments? Like, there's a list here in the packet that has Cindy on MPIC and Cindy on the Affordable Housing Trust and me as the administrator appointee on the Housing Trust. Do those also need to be voted on?
I don't know that I had, my term on the Housing Trust expires.
I don't think that it does expire.
There was no
It doesn't
expiration
expire.
date.
So any position like that the board, unless you want to change spaces,
Okay.
change spots around, like,
Right.
because we similarly
just did.
haven't invited in the other members of some of these committees for reappointments, just kind of
it's just, right.
They're
It's just
out
their
there.
appointments.
until told otherwise, I guess.
Right.
They don't have formal status. So I imagine the value of having up there is if people want to change, as has just been discussed, or if there are inaccuracies.
Well, you know what, too, and I'm thinking, I think Delisa was just appointed on MPEC, but I think MPEC is a joint appointment.
It is, you're right.
Yeah, so she was just appointed by the planning board, but that didn't get back to us, so we need to appoint her too. It's supposed to be a joint appointment.
Right.
Now that we're, for that
Yeah, if you go back and
specific
look,
committee.
when we adopted that.
When
was
we
a,
adopted that, right?
Yep, you're
Yeah.
right. It's both planning board and select.
Yeah, so we need to,
Have a joint meeting at some point to reappoint the membership, or something like that. I don't know what process we used in the past, but,
yeah, I forget who's,
We did have a joint meeting in the past.
yeah.
yeah, we did, so maybe we could put that on it.
And maybe lump it together with, see what other joint topics we have, just, it's always, we haven't done that in a while. Have
Well,
them
and you know what, Paul, I'd like, so we've been working on,
40 is a perfect topic for that.
right, and, well, while we're talking about this too, is trying to figure out how we want to handle goals going forward. And I think one of the things that we've thrown around in the past is really bringing in all the department heads. And I would love to do like a Super Saturday type event with them and get everybody in the same room, get chairs from the other boards in the same room, and have us really talk about goals. Instead of, you know, the select board, we have our goals, all these other groups have their goals. You know, maybe that would be a better way to communicate universally across the board and maybe start doing that going
We've done
forward.
variations of that thing in the past, but it's been quite a while, you know, the
Yeah.
chairs meetings or the whatever.
Right.
You know, but you're right, we should do chairs.
Yeah,
Or like Stu said, the department heads, we rarely get them together except at budget time, all in the same room.
right,
Pandemic year, of course, was a challenge anyway. But
right. But I mean, even what came up tonight with that sidewalk repair, to have, maybe with goal setting, have Chris Stoddard in the room and being able to talk about things like that, open space and
Summer's a good time to address those sort of things.
so. But back to the planning board, we need to maybe convene a joint meeting with them, just to get Delisa appointed by us as well.
So as far as board appointments, we wanted, so that, the station area committee was something that you were very interested in trying to get something to move on quickly because of the
Yes.
time certain.
Yeah, exactly.
But everything else on this, should we just leave it alone, or is there anything else that anybody really wants to address right now that they either really would like to be a member of, or really would like to pass the baton?
I'm excited. I would love to get back on economic development, but I know you're doing things to change, the level of activity there and that sort of thing. So.
I mean, there's room for two of us, frankly. It's a posted meeting.
Right. I'd welcome another seat if there's a vacancy on it. I know we have a set number, we have 8 members now, we just appointed somebody on there.
We've got
For
a couple
EDC
that are.
oh, yeah.
Vanessa and Caroline are.
Did we fill all the seats?
We added one
We're
person.
up to 9.
We're up to 9, is it 9 now? Okay. Well, let me just put it
Let's have
out
the
there.
conversation, yeah.
If something opens up, I'm happy to join you there.
Fine for everything.
I don't think we have to act on anything unless anybody
No.
chimes in on anything.
Anthony, maybe just parenthetically, behind my name on economic development, put, or, italics or something like that, put Paul's name. Just to, keep it top of mind.
Right.
Thanks.
And you're still happy you didn't pick?
I'm chair of MPEC.
great.
Yeah. No, I am happy. We're actually putting together, we're working on a project of accomplishments. We've gotten a lot done.
Time for another update from that group?
Yeah, no, we're working on it, and I've been working really closely with Laura Yates on it, and it just keeps ballooning. I mean, there's so many things that we've accomplished that we need to celebrate.
Mike Selden used to say that.
What?
You use the, whatever.
No, but I
It's
was.
true, the group does a lot, but.
They do a lot, but honestly, it's, until you dive into it, you don't realize the things that we've done, that,
You lost Joe.
what do you mean? Oh, that we've accomplished.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I used to say to Mike all the time, well, what are we doing? Like, what are we working on? But now you.
It's quiet work that gets done, and.
Yeah, and so really being able to celebrate that is important.
I think we're up to
And
town
acknowledge
administrator.
it.
Town administrator? Okay.
Yeah.
So I love the sidebar, but I want to keep moving.
Oh, sorry. Oh, sorry, Mr. Chair.
Should have a gavel.
I've got one at home for you. What was
Town
your-
administrator, assistant town administrator, we've got discussion regarding the fire chief vacancy, interim / hiring process. There was some information
So,
as
yeah.
far as firms and that kind of thing for
Sure.
us.
So when I was out last week, Joe did reach out and try to get the Collins Center to submit a proposal. To date, we haven't received anything yet. Community Paradigm withdrew their proposal, and John Parrow will do it himself. And I'm looking, there was supposed to be an email that was sent to me, so I'll look at that and forward it off to the board. So that would mean that we'd have two organizations that, or
If
companies
Collins
that
submits, you
can.
mean?
No, we have MRI.
Right, I'm
That
sorry.
was in the packet. And then John Parrow's, which I'll find and forward it off to the board, that have done fire chief searches in the past for other communities.
Did John Parrow's work for Paradigm?
No, he's always been on his own.
Okay.
So what happened was Paradigm reached out to him to assist in the process, so.
They've done all the other municipal positions.
Got
They
it.
hadn't done.
But he doesn't need to.
Got it.
Paradigm's fine with letting John run it, and if he needs him, he'll sub out something to Bernie.
Okay. Do we want to have any further discussion around the process, or?
We're looking at, it was like 10 grand roughly for each of these.
Roughly, for complete
Yeah,
soup to nuts, yes, including an assessment center.
I mean, I've heard, I can't remember who told me that finding a chief for this size town is difficult, that it's in between something that's small and something that's big. And I'm saying maybe it's a good idea to hire an outside firm to get us the candidates. I'm still skeptical. I've been through too many rounds of hiring with headhunters or other outside firms who provide candidates, and unfortunately, often their motivations are not the same, as aligned with yours, and they're trying to get a candidate hired in order to make their commission and not necessarily to find you the best candidate. So I'm not sure that there's a solution to this problem. I just want to raise that as something that I'm worried about.
I think there's some credence to that, but I think it's a little bit different than municipal hiring, because it's kind of a niche thing versus headhunters, very much so. They they place you and then they move on to the next candidate, and so they're just looking for all those placements to, like you said, get the commission.
But I'll just say with the specific focus on the municipal process, the most recent ones we've had here with outside help, after the fact, I'm not as thrilled with the value we got out of that, and one of the issues that Matthew cited is a very concern I have of just that, finding a home for somebody and then in turn finding a home for the person who found them a home. But I have a more basic concerns. I'm just not sold on the need yet. I mean, we're about to talk about the interim part of it, and I wouldn't be opposed to waiting to see how that plays out. I don't think it's an automatic that we need to go out and hire a firm to help us hire a chief. We've promoted from within, other departments, so, I think that remains a viable option, and I just don't automatically think we need to look for a solution elsewhere if we perhaps have the solution on hand. I'm not sure if that's the case or not, but I'd like to see how that plays out a little bit. That's just my opinion on it.
Appreciate that. I think there are a number of communities that have done either. Usually they do invest in some sort of consulting.
We've done both.
Yep.
And I'm aware of that.
Ms. Napoli, do you have any comments?
I do. So, as we talked about at the last meeting, we've got a short window that we're operating on because of the notice that was given to us by Chief Wodzinski. Mr. Clancy came forward, he did address the board, he did say that he, was up for the task of serving as interim. He said in a letter to the board that it will be a challenge for him, and that he's going to, but he has outside resources that he can rely on, and some inside resources to help him in that role. So I do think it's more important sooner rather than later that the board decide what they want to do as far as seeking a new fire chief. And, personally, we've gone through the process. We did it with the police chief position, even though, the deputy police chief expressed interest in that position. We went to, that process. I think we as a board have not discussed what qualities we're looking for in a fire chief. I mean, there's a lot of variables that go along with that position. Management, leadership, education, team building, finance background, all of those things. I've never seen the job description for the fire chief, personally. So, I think that there is a process that we need to follow for this position. It's a very important top-level position for our community. Certainly, Mr. Clancy can apply for the job, and be an applicant just like everybody else. And we've learned through past processes, they rise to the top, whoever is best for that position. That being said, because we currently do not have an HR director, Mr. Ansaldi, talked about that at our last meeting, having been through search committees, building commissioner, police chief. Without an HR director, it's really difficult to do that, and I think utilizing services from an outside entity to help with this process is really important for the board now, especially in light, we do have a lot of things going on. Our bandwidth is limited, but there are professional resources out there that we can rely on to help us with this process. And I do think that we need to start, looking at these two organizations that Anthony found and bring them in and move forward. And that's the direction I would prefer to move forward in. I am not in favor of appointing the interim just to see how it goes, and we're still up in the air, like, well, what are we doing? Like, that leaves, Mr. Clancy in limbo in some respect. He's just the indefinite interim, or, what's the end objective?
Okay.
So.
The two companies, Anthony, that you mentioned, I might be wrong, have we got information from them on their process? And
So Municipal Resources, there was information in the packet the last meeting. I don't know if Joe put it in again to this. All right, so it would be in the last meeting's packet, the proposal.
that's still online?
Yeah, that's still on. And then we can forward that off to you, and I can forward off to, once I find John Parros, that we can forward that off to the board too.
Because I'd like to read through that and use some of the ideas that Cindy just said. Maybe we don't have to hire a company for $10,000. Maybe we sit down as a board and take a look at some of their ideas that might be there and take a look at what this board is looking for. I have no problem waiting another meeting before we make any kind of choice like that. I want to read back through those things. My fault for not reading through them, for this meeting here, but I'm not willing right now to go out and hire a company yet. I'm not there yet. I want to see what this board, like you said, Cindy, what we want to look for.
Yeah, Joe, to your point, they will do à la carte services too. So if it's the board's pleasure, you could always have them come in and discuss what they do and what type of services that they're able to provide.
And I thought that's what we had talked about the last meeting, was doing that, because until they come in and talk to us, we don't really know if we want to utilize their services or not.
Cool.
So maybe we should invite them in, the two that we have before us. And then, right?
I'm sorry.
Yeah. No, I'm sorry, Joe.
No, I have no problem with that.
Yeah.
I'd like to have someone come in and say, this is what we do. Maybe we don't want to even utilize that avenue at all.
Right.
Maybe we do, but I don't.
Until
I have this fear that, sort of like what has been mentioned, that you go out and you hire a company, they have them do the whole thing, and it's not what we're really looking for. So I'd much rather have them come in and explain to us, maybe like Anthony said, à la carte. We're gonna, this is what we're gonna give you, so we can look at what we want to actually take out of it.
Mm-hmm. Right.
I think one of the biggest points you made was the fact that we are kind of in a HR-free zone right now. So
Right.
we've got an interim in that position, and Jennifer, but it might, those services might serve us well, whether it be on an à la carte basis or what have you. It doesn't necessarily have to be the full Monty, the full assessment center and all that kind
Right.
of stuff, but some assistance to get us through, because we don't necessarily have all the professionals in place right now in order to help us move through this process. So I think that is more germane to the replacement conversation. But I think you alluded to the fact that part of the conversation is the interim, and I think that that's a conversation. I mean, both Chief Wodzinski and Deputy Clancy are here. I don't know if we want to have that conversation, because we did have some conversations earlier this evening during executive session. So I don't know if we want to go back into executive session to have some of those conversations and then come back out into open session, if we want to finish the agenda and then go back and, go into, it's kind of a tricky game here. If there's some questions that we need answered, if we wanted to move forward, but it's not something that we can deliberate in open session.
I would suggest that we go through and try to
Finish the agenda.
finish the agenda, then spend the rest of the time in executive session, and then come out if we have to.
Possibility
Well, we
of
probably
returning
have
to
to
open session.
come to open session because we have we have to do something between now and the end of the month.
Right.
Or have another
Yeah,
meeting.
don't forget, this is-
Yeah, we don't have another meeting before July 30th, and we can't operate without, Scott retires. It's not automatic, we have to put somebody in that
Right.
position. If Tom's that guy, then we need to have, frankly, a ceremony to put him in that position. But we need to come to terms on that.
Right.
As well.
Hence the
Right.
need for an executive session.
Correct, right.
So let's finish the agenda.
I think that's what we do,
Yeah.
is we go through B, C, and D. Tom, can you hang in there with us until, okay, thank you. Sean. Oh, I didn't even realize Sean's he's still here for C. I'm sorry, Sean.
Oh,
It's only an hour and a half drive, you good?
Oh my gosh,
There's no
poor
construction right
Sean.
now. I mean, poor Sean.
sorry, Sean.
Not poor for long.
Should have been there for executive session. Just kidding. Not really. All right, so is there an update on the Nagog Orchard lease? So we're going to table A and come back to it.
Yes, a quick update. Basically, knowing that everyone's seeing a lot of posts on social media as far as activities that are going on, want to at least let the board know that negotiations really aren't going that great. We're not making a lot of progress. Was on the call with town council this morning to discuss. Town council recommends that we schedule executive session for our next meeting.
With
to
them, right?
With town council, yes, to be here to have a more in-length discussion with the board as far as options, and making some decisions. It has been communicated through town council to their legal counsel on some activities that are occurring that are not permitted.
They're being the applicants.
Correct. And identifying that without a lease, we don't have any legal framework. There is just a question that was raised as far as understanding activities that are not permitted, as far as things that were above and beyond even the prior lease and what is typically associated with selling product of the orchard, apples or whatever. It was sort of raised to our attention with town council that we should make some sort of decision if we want to allow them to sell fruit, as in right now they're picking cherries. Is that something that we wanted to allow them to sell at the farm stand, limiting it to that, or basically say we have no lease, all activities should cease, and again, proceed with that executive session at our next meeting.
I mean, it isn't so much the produce grown on site, cherries or whatever it is, because that had always been part of the sales operation for the orchard, ancillary vegetables and fruits. It's more the legal question is they don't have authority to do anything. And there's some other legal issues which we'd love to get into, but we probably should do it with an executive session with council.
There's other prepared foods and things like that.
Yeah, and there's other issues too, about even beyond the food
Right,
thing.
yeah. So I think we need to schedule that sooner rather than later.
Next meeting, I wouldn't want to go much later than that. I mean, we were just kind of continuing things, and
So that was you and Chase at one point, right?
yeah, I mean, I've been very
Kind of
much
running
involved. I wasn't on the call today, but I was on calls last week, and what we were hoping would wrap up just on terms, everything we've discussed before. That's very much in the back burner. They haven't done anything on that, even though they got counsel. And then all these issues that, members of the board have identified.
Right.
And then Joe and I brought counsel up to speed on it and figured the appropriate path was to have counsel talk to their counsel to underscore the gravity of it. And then we're made aware of the whole issue they have with their labor situation there, which is a federal
Right.
thing. Things we don't have, and we don't have all the facts on that. So I hate to even say too much publicly, because we don't even know what's going on there.
Right.
All right, so we need to schedule an executive session
The next meeting?
prior to the next meeting.
Yeah, I know you were looking for an answer, Joe, but.
Do you want-
I'd
Yeah,
turn
do
the
we
question around.
do we
I'd
do a
like-
special
Do you want
executive
a
session?
special executive session, or is July 12th okay?
Well, maybe, who knows? Let's see what council says on that.
Okay.
We have the dates.
I mean, in another one or two items, we have sort of setting a schedule, and realistically, unless we schedule something next Monday, then we'd be looking at July 12th, potentially unless we're meeting on an off night than we typically
Which we
meet.
could do, it doesn't even have to be an evening.
Right, you can do a morning.
But, I don't know, I think we ought to find out from council whether they think there's any reason to.
The urgency,
And-
yeah. We can do that and follow up and
Right, yeah,
and get an email
Yeah.
out to the board.
Okay.
Should we go?
So, my calendar.
Interim Finance Director?
Please.
Sure. So, we've negotiated with Sean O'Brien to be the interim finance director. Sean's currently at a grade 12, step 7. The proposal that went before the board in executive session was for Sean to jump to a grade 13, step 4, for the remainder of FY '21 and still be entitled to the 1% COLA on top of that starting July 1st. This also would entitle to Mr. O'Brien to have 20 days vacation moving forward, even when he returns back to the position of Assistant Finance Director / Treasurer.
Okay.
Okay.
You have any discussion, any
Oh.
questions?
I have a motion for you, Matthew, make it easy for you.
Thank you for being willing and able and all that.
That's tough, but appreciate the support.
Are we ready for a motion? Move that the Select Board approve Sean O'Brien as interim finance director, effective June 13th, 2021, at a grade 13, step, I thought it was 3.
No,
13-4.
Okay.
step 4.
Grade 13, step 4, for the remainder of fiscal year 21, with a 1% COLA adjustment effective July 1st, 2022 for fiscal year 22.
Second.
Moved and seconded. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Unanimous. Sean, thank you.
Thank you.
Sean.
Thanks, Sean. See what it's on that. Yeah, his contract.
Oh,
Let me see. Cindy, did you sign all the borrowing stuff?
I did, so Chuck signs this.
Just for the chair.
Yeah,
Just double check it before.
I was gonna just scribble
Well,
in
they
there,
have-
but. It's so hard, it's like.
First, yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Sure, you want John Hancock, that's what you have? Thank you.
And maybe as these assignments, you just brought up an interesting point. On the Natick Hilton, I am the only person on this, so if one of you guys, now that's getting kind of.
I was there with Jimmy back before
Yeah.
you and Chase kind of took it over, so I think it was me and Jimmy, then it was me and you, and then it was you and
Well,
Chase.
what looked 3-4 months ago as just kind of just,
Right.
an uncomplicated thing is now all of a sudden gotten complicated. I welcome another body in
I'll come
the.
back in if
Yeah,
just, having some history with
Sure,
Charles. And
sure.
You guys okay with that? If I jump back in with the orchard with Paul?
As chair, I mean, you probably don't
Yeah.
even need any other. So Joe,
fine.
you mind Joe checking?
Okay, so
Share the volume. It blows up.
Do we have a schedule to put up on the?
I can pop up, so, oh, yeah. I don't have something. Joe, can you share, I don't have that. Can you share the covered control sheet?
Yep. Let me just scroll down.
Thanks, guys.
All right.
Thank
Thanks,
you.
Sean.
Thanks,
Sean.
I think we got a cricket in here.
We do have a cricket. Oh, that's funny.
Crickets.
You have a cricket? Better than a mouse.
Good point. We had that
Back
too.
there.
We did, remember that?
But the door's open like that far. I can shut it if you want.
It's still outside, so that's a good thing.
Too cold in here for it.
Joe has it up there now.
I thought that said Taka.
I did, you know what, I
By
was
Taka.
just gonna say that, I'm like, oh, sign me up.
Thanks, Sharon.
So we were looking at some dates just to, through the end of September. Giving a little break in July, and then if whatever the board wants to do as far as a goal setting, you threw around some options tonight, but that would be an additional meeting.
Good place to start. I assume you vetted it through, as you say, all the holidays, Patriot schedule, et cetera. Make sure you don't get-
It's just, that's good. I don't know about the Patriots schedule. Joe,
Monday Night
hopefully you did
Football,
Monday
you
Night
know.
Football, yeah, but that's, I forgot to mention that to you. We'll double check that. Make adjustments as necessary.
So we're just skipping the second meeting in July to have a break, basically?
And that's aspirational. How's that? Who knows
Yeah.
whether we go a whole month
No one
without
knows what's gonna
That's why
happen.
these are regular.
These are
You cannot
regular.
spell-
Well, the 20th of September is my birthday,
Ah,
so,
bring a cake,
yeah.
a change
No,
of
so,
date.
yeah.
Oh,
so-
the 20th
No,
is-
we
oh,
hop right over
right,
it, so
right.
it's perfect.
So Chuck, I know we still need to sit down, maybe we can work on those special meetings with the goal setting and so forth, and
Yeah, and maybe retreat or, just.
retreat, yes. So this,
In that
yeah,
whole-
certainly not gonna be your only dates meeting.
Retreat.
Yeah, that's good, okay. I'm fine with all of those dates.
Yeah, they look fine.
Yeah, if there's a problem, I don't recognize it yet, so whatever, we'll just let it ride. We'll see what happens. Looks good.
We'll adapt and overcome.
Yep.
All right.
as needed.
Do we need to talk about we're going to talk about a special session, an executive session for next week? Or was that,
We're gonna talk to council, and as far as NAGOG, Matthew?
Yeah.
Yeah, we're gonna talk to council and then
Okay.
see the urgency and see if it's something that can wait for the 12th, or if he feels that we
Okay.
should meet sooner, and then we'll circle back with the board.
got it. So I move that the board vote to schedule regular meetings on July 12th, August 9th, August 23rd, September 13th, and September 27th.
Second.
Moved and seconded.
Paul, do you wanna,
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
I was just gonna see if Paul wanted to make an amendment to say, subject to the Patriots schedule.
If necessary, down the road.
We'll make those changes.
Can, maybe just send that out? I was trying to get it down, but it went away. It's all right. All right, so I believe we can take a look at the minutes.
Yeah, things look good to me.
And, we'll go into executive session with the intent of coming back out of executive session into open session. But, any questions on the minutes?
No.
Thoughts?
All correct, as far as I can tell.
Look good, good.
Sue's doing a good job. So, if there's no challenges or any questions about the minutes, I'll entertain a motion.
I move that we select the regular session minutes from meeting minutes of June 7th, 2021.
Move to approve the minutes for June 7th, 2021, seconded. All those in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
So passes unanimously.
Okay.
And
You have an executive session
We'll use
motion,
the same
Anthony?
motion.
Yeah, I'm gonna.
Use the original one
Let me
from-
open that motion
Or,
up.
or I can grab one for you, Matthew, if you want.
I move that the Select Board vote to enter into executive session pursuant to Mass General Law, Chapter 30A, Section 21A, Clause 2, to discuss strategy with respect to negotiating a contract with non-union personnel, since an open meeting may have a detrimental effect on the bargaining position of the board, and to convene in open session thereafter.
And we're going to invite Deputy Clancy as well as Chief Wazinski to attend, or what's the intention of the board on that?
We can make that determination once we go in.
Okay.
Who we want there, right? So motion's been made
Second?
and seconded. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, it's unanimous. We're going into
It's roll
executive
call,
session.
right?
So it's roll call vote. Mr.
Oh.
Knox? Go ahead. No, that's
Yeah, aye.
Mr. Leahy.
Aye.
Ms. Napoli?
Aye.
And the chair is in favor. So, folks, we're going to go into executive session. Should be relatively brief, but we will be coming back, we're coming out of executive session into open session to take care of any business we may have to take care of. And it'll be a one-item brief conversation when we do come back out. So you can hang in there or have a good night. Thank you.